pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd ask Blake if he would offer a prayer for us.
Dear Father in heaven, as we meet together as a city council and community members this evening, Father, we wish to give thanks unto Thee for our many blessings. We're grateful for this free country in which we live in and for this great town in which we live. Father, we're grateful for those that serve both our country and also our city and all the capacities that have. Father, watch over them, protect them, keep them safe. We're grateful, Father, for the freedoms we enjoy, and ask Thy blessing be upon those that legislate in our world and also help others that at that high level that they might be led and guided by the Spirit to do the right things to help those that are in suffering or in need. Father, we're grateful for those here in the council and others that make our city run and do the good that they do. Father, we ask and pray that that would be with us as we make decisions and think about things that we would be able to do so with the knowledge of fairness and also with those of our constituents. Father, we're grateful for these things and we ask and pray these favors and blessings at this time in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Council, if you don't have any questions on the minutes, I would accept a motion to approve consent agenda items 1, A, B, C, and D.
Mayor,
Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll make
Yeah.
a motion that we, now I lost my train of thought. Approve consent calendar items 1A, B, C, and D.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we approve consent agenda items 1, A, B, C, and D. Jeff,
Aye.
Liv,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
Adam.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is Scott Reeves. I didn't see Scott. Okay, if he comes in.
Was he there for emergency management for the all hazard mitigation plan? I'm representing the county on
Okay, you're up then. Perfect. Just, you can stand there
that.
and
Okay,
that
I
might.
have a sign-in sheet that I need everybody to sign if they would,
Okay,
just that you got my presentation.
sorry, I was just, on here, we were just told Scott Reeves was coming, so. So he either delegated it or you're the new guy.
They hired me to do it.
Okay.
Just have my little handout pass around to everybody. Anybody in the public who wants one, it's just one, it's mine. It's just one of
Oh, this way.
Bingham County's Office of Emergency Management is updating their all hazard mitigation plan. And part of that requirement to update that is to get, provide information to the public and the cities in the county of what is in the plan. The advantage to the plan is it allows your jurisdiction to apply for grants to do mitigation work. And the county has to update this every 5 years to keep you eligible for that.
Sir,
So,
sorry
yes.
to interrupt, but I need to get your name for the record.
My name is Mike Clements. I'm a contractor hired by Bingham County to update the all hazard mitigation plan. Just a quick overview. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me. I'd like to go into more detail. Otherwise, I won't take more time than is necessary. Hazard mitigation, on the first page, it says, we do hazard mitigation to protect public safety and prevent loss of life and injuries. We reduce harm to existing and future development. We prevent damage to the community's unique economic, cultural, and environmental assets. We minimize operational downtime and accelerate recovery of government businesses after disasters. Reducing the cost of disasters in response and recovery and the exposure to risk for first responders. Help accomplish other community objectives such as leveraging capital improvements, infrastructure protection, open space preservation, and economic resiliency. a little bit on mitigation plannings. We need to identify actions for risk reduction that are agreed upon by the stakeholders and the public. Focus resources on the greatest risks and vulnerabilities. We build partnerships by involving citizens, organizations, and businesses. Increasing education awareness of threats and hazards as well as their risks. Communicating priorities to state and federal officials. We align the risk reduction with other community objectives. On page 2, a little on the goals, we need for the plan to include hazard mitigation goals that represent what the community seeks to achieve through mitigation and plan implementation. And our mitigation strategies, we have our goals, mitigation actions, and then an action plan to implement them. The purpose of the all hazard mitigation plan is basically on the 3rd page, is that once we have the mitigation plan and the city signs on, then you're eligible to apply for state and federal funding to do mitigation projects. And part of that is, in the plan, is we revised risk ranking. So in your handout, it's a page that's pink, yellow, and green. We did this through, over the past 2 years with online surveys. We researched threats and hazards, and this is the list of hazard or risk rankings for the city of Shelley that we came up with. We designated 3 of them as high, 4 of them as a medium, the rest as lower risk. We did this by looking at the hazard, historical occurrences, probability, vulnerability, the spatial extent, how big of an area would be impacted, the magnitude, and we got the score, and that's how we ranked them. Next page is the mitigation goals for Bingham County. On the back of that page is the mitigation goals carried forward from the last all-hazard mitigation plan for the city of Shelley. Included and this is based on your 3 highest hazards, is communicable disease. The city of Shelley will partner with Bingham County to seek to reduce the exposure and severeness of infections to humans and animals. Hazardous materials event, the city of Shelley will partner with Bingham County to identify hazardous material flows through the city and develop capabilities. For this, they'll work with your city hazardous materials. The fire department is listed as participating, updating the Bingham County hazardous materials flow study that was completed. And then severe winter storms, protect isolated individuals from severe storms and extreme cold by identifying evacuation shelters and equipping them with emergency generators. It's listed as ongoing. If you have any other mitigation actions or projects that you'd like us to enter into the plan, there's a form there that you could do that. And I'll open it up to any questions, or if you have any projects you'd like me to throw in at this time. As we update the plan, then we will submit it to the State Office of Emergency Management for approval, for the state's approval. And then, once it's approved there, it's submitted to FEMA, and we'll have a federal approval, and then you'd be eligible to apply for grants to do mitigation work. They're anywhere from 75-25 split up to 90-10.
I have one question.
Yes.
The hazard assessment, the
Mhm.
scoring that you did, how was that scored? Like, just tell me about how you came up with those numbers.
I was gonna ask the same thing, because like drought, you have as low, so.
Okay, so, yeah, now Bingham County's drought's lots higher, but the impact of a drought upon the city is not quite as severe.
Okay.
So it's geographical. In the plan, it goes into great detail about the math formulas and historical occurrences and various other things as to how we created that. Did that answer?
Partially, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just curious if there was like a group of people that sat down and scored it, or where you got the data from, or how did you categorize something as a 2 rather than a 4? Obviously, you know, there's gonna be some subjectivity in that, I understand. I was just kinda curious about the process.
Okay, so we took historical occurrences, it's the first column, and rated them on a score of 1 to 4 on how many have happened, and it goes over in the last, we used 50 years worth of data, and then the probability was ranked on whether or not it would happen again. And then the vulnerability is, even if you have a hazard, if it doesn't impact you, then you're not vulnerable to it. Does that make sense? For example, like on drought, let's see, how far down did that get on the list? See, vulnerability is 1 for your city, because unlike the county, which is agricultural, you know, it's how much of the city is impacted. And it was a subjective by our researchers and the emergency manager's office to come up with that.
Did anybody talk with anybody from this city in putting that together? Again,
Not directly.
no agenda,
The
just
county,
curious.
we did most of the research during COVID, and so the county had an online survey, and they made it available. I understood they posted it at the supermarkets and the libraries and different places where people could access it and then sign on for that. And that was where we collected the input from people who were concerned. And the plan has whole sections that shows you all the data that was collected and how it was analyzed.
This is the amendment, right, to the plan?
This is just an update.
Okay, so when the original plan was done, the county sent all of us the information on this, and I think it involved Rick at the time. There was Rick and Alan and I. I think Dawn might have been into it too, Dawn, where they sent this to us, and we went through it with them all. We talked and discussed what had happened to us, and so the original plan, we did get involved in that.
And I'm here to get your input. If you'd like me to adjust any of these numbers, I'd be glad to do that for you.
I don't think so. How does school shootings show up on something like that? Is that being considered a
hazard.
Civil
Hazard.
Terrorism, civil
Yeah, either terrorism or civil disobedience.
falls within that
Probably
realm?
terrorism.
Terrorism, yeah.
See, your vulnerability is probability is really low.
Well,
but
right.
your vulnerability is quite high.
Right.
See,
I see how that works.
and the magnitude, you know, the
Yeah.
special extent, well, a school shooting doesn't impact
Yeah,
every
like,
structure or building in the
like a
city.
hazardous waste. Yeah, like a hazmat situation would, yeah, okay.
Okay, does that help you? to
That makes
understand?
sense. Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? Now, the goals listed and the projects from the previous plan, if you have other projects that you didn't think of any tonight, but in the future you do think of them, then all you need to do is contact Scott at the county emergency management office, and you tell him what your project is, and then he can add it to the plan. It's not a complicated thing to add it to the plan. He just says, I open the plan, I add this, and then it's then added. And then you're eligible for grant funding.
That sounds great.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns or interests? I thank you very much for your time then, and did my sign-up sheet get through the audience? Pass that around.
Nope,
We
stop
just-
right there.
It ended right here. We didn't know how far you wanted to go.
Well, I'm open to input from the community, and the community's sitting right here, so sign the sign-up sheet, says, I gave you that opportunity, and if anybody comes up with a project, they can just use that form and submit it to Scott Reese at the county, and we'll add it into the plan.
Okay.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Next on the agenda is Brent Christensen, Sunset Vista, final plot and development agreement. You've been in here enough, Brent, you know where you gotta go.
Brent Christensen, 748 East, 1100 North Shelley. I just came in tonight for the final approval of Sunset Vista plat. And we got one little issue with the twin home lots, the engineers did put a division line between separating the division lots. So what I'd like to do is see if we couldn't approve it contingent on fixing.
What?
They're all the same. So there's Division 2 and Division 3 of the final plat for residential, and then the townhome. So all three of those plats are the finals that he's discussing.
Each of those is a copy of it. Or the same.
Yeah, I just have one of each if y'all want to share it, that's all I have, of the bigger one.
Oh, okay.
So they are, there's not three copies separate.
Can you explain, can you explain a little bit more, like, educate me with the division? Who has that one? Is that this one?
This is the townhome here, isn't it? This is all the townhome.
Yeah. See, right now, it's just showing cells on lot, and they should have put a division line.
Yeah, because they're 100 foot wide, they should only be 50 foot.
Yeah,
Oh, so actually this is lot 1, 2,
yeah,
3, 4.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Gary was talking to Sandy this afternoon and brought it to our attention, so I talked to engineer, he said it wasn't a big deal.
And that gives us enough room still for our ordinances to draw that.
Yeah,
line.
it's 100 feet for having two homes on it, but he has to sell it with individual ownership, so it's half.
Yeah, so you can divide it.
You guys
So it's just on that one, we got the upper end, we didn't got the lower end.
So basically, like, there should be a line separating these lots.
Oh, on the final?
Yeah.
Will you identify them as A and B?
Does it gotta be does the lot have to be relotted, Sandy? No, just gotta make it A and B, lot 1, A and B.
He actually should just, well, he needs to have it so when he records it, it's, each of those is gonna have its own legal description.
Okay,
So when he sells it, each
Each
owner
lot.
can have their own individual ownership.
So the lot A and B,
So
lot
he'd have to
A1.
divide it. So I guess it could be lot 1, A and B, because when I address it, this isn't really gonna matter at that point anyway.
right, because it'll be addressed separately on that same lot.
So the residential division 2 are fine, it's just the townhome one that will have to be corrected. You also have a copy of the two letters from Forestrin, discussing it, and saying that both, or all three plats, met the requirements of Title 10 of the City of Shelley. He did have a note, please note that this review is not inclusive of all ordinances, and the developer should coordinate with public service departments such as police and fire, because fire code falls under something different. But during the preliminary plotting, the fire chief was included in this. Also, the development agreement that you have is, the top of it is the development agreement that he used for Division 1. At the very back of it, there's an addendum dated March 25th, 2022. The addendum applies to the Sunset Vista Division 2 and 3 and Sunset Vista Townhomes. And basically, this paragraph is talking about that he will have to submit all the as-built drawings and have that done within a 3-year period from the date that this is approved. So the addendum just, everything is the same in the final plat, or sorry, in the development agreement, except that 3-year period needs to be added onto the section.
Okay, Sandy, sorry, I was reading this instead of listening. What did you say about adding on the last?
The addendum. So the very, so you have the restricted covenants in there too.
Yeah,
So if you go to the very last page of the development agreement and the first page prior to the restrictive covenants, there's a 1-paragraph page that says addendum. Development agreement addendum says that this is subdivision with the March 25th date on it. This is what it looks like there. that's what's added to the development agreement regarding the final construction for improvements.
And this is for the townhomes or just for the,
This is for Division
Two
Two
and
and Three
three.
and the townhomes.
and the town?
Yeah, although that is, he's requesting approval for it.
Okay, got it.
I don't see a problem with approving it with the contingency.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept the final plat for the Sunset Vista Division 2 and 3 with the contingencies on correcting the
Lots on the townhomes.
lots on the townhomes on Division 3, right?
On townhomes.
Just on the
Just on the
townhomes.
on the townhomes.
I'll second.
Revised, I guess, or put on that.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we move and second to go ahead and approve the development agreement. With the corrections for the townhomes to be, the lots have to be separated, or divided.
Yeah.
All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay, thanks, Frank. Lori Boyce.
Boyd,
Boyd?
there's no C.
Hi, I live directly north of Sunset Vista, and I was wondering if I could tap into their water lines due to lack of water pressure and whatnot. My sister and I and my niece live on the same property on one line. We need to each get our own meters, water meters, and so Brent said he would help me.
Justin's went out and looked at it. Justin, do you want to educate us on what's going on out there?
Sure, I'd love to. So a little history, these guys live across Market Circle over there. There's a 2-inch water line, an old galvanized water line that runs from Fur 91, underneath 91 to Arctic Circle, and then at 90s, it goes underneath Highway 91, underneath the railroad tracks, out to these 3 homes out in that area.
Didn't that leak once here recently?
About 4 or 5 years ago, we put a new 1-inch line underneath Highway 91 and the railroad. We had to have that bored in. I guess the concern that we've got, so these guys have got 3 homes pulling off of a 1-inch line more or less. And so it's approximately 800 feet from the intersection down to Arctic Circle. That 2-inch line has got to be, Chuck might be able to help me, it's probably 40 years old, if not older.
At least for.
So a concern I do have is when that line starts leaking, we'll have to start digging up the highway, Highway 91, in order to replace it. So,
Where's it start at?
Corner of
it starts in
For-
Fur 91,
for 91 road.
and then it runs south down to Arctic Circle,
On the west side of the right of way.
on the
90s
west
across.
side, on the shoulder.
On the
Yeah,
shoulder.
on the shoulder, right, it's right under the asphalt for probably 75% of it.
Under that part that we would like to someday
Exactly,
widen.
if you want to widen it for Brolins, it's probably already under the road right there, but it'll
Yeah.
continue on. So, that is a long line, a 2-inch line to serve 3 homes. I don't know what happened in the past or why that's like that, but that's what we've got.
And
So,
right now, there's only 1 meter.
right now, there's 1 meter that runs all 3 homes.
Okay.
So it crosses, it goes underneath the tracks, there's a meter pit with a 1-inch meter in it, and from there, where it goes on the private property, I don't know where, but it's serving them 3 homes back in there.
And do you all have low water pressure? All 3 homes?
I definitely do, I'm on the end.
Yeah.
So Lori called me here about a month ago, and I believe she's talked to probably Brent and Travis on this. An idea that we had, I guess, is in Sunset Vista when they're running the utilities through there, the water and sewer and stuff. Keep in mind, they are in the county. This is that little sliver that sits in the county, so they're not city limits.
annexed into the city.
It's not annexed into the city, it's the county. But if there's a way that they could tie in Sunset Vista and run, we'd have to size a line, maybe a 4-inch line back in there, or a 6-inch line with a fire hydrant for emergency services also. It might just be something for the council to think about, so. I guess a benefit to the city
How much
is,
did that cost you?
I was gonna say,
Probably
what do you
we-
think your cost
I
would
don't know,
be?
we
You'd have to
haven't,
go
we haven't
do it?
talked about it, I haven't talked to Brenda about where that utility is going to be and how many feet that would take to get into there.
You'd probably look at least 150 feet with a hydrant, so $6,000 for a hydrant, right?
Are we gonna go through the,
Just go between lots.
but,
Well,
no, not between lots, you'd end up going out through our pit, right?
You'd probably
And over?
go on the northwest side of Sunset,
Corner, yeah.
in the corner,
Yeah.
and run it back into
In
these
that
folks'
northwest corner,
area.
there's a storm pond.
Right.
And so my thinking was, is if you did it, you'd come into the storm pond, because that's gonna be turned over to the city.
Right.
Well, that's why I was wondering, is if we run this line that direction, it's not in the subdivision, is it gonna be in the middle of something? Are we going through somebody's backyard?
Yeah.
How does that
I'm
work?
sure we could work that out as we get going, but,
Well,
this
then
is just all preliminary.
I'd
right?
say
Just wanted
go,
to discuss
I'd say
those.
go, get some measurements and figure it out. If Brent's amenable to it, they've
How
talked.
soon can you see you running,
Water,
yeah,
probably sometime mid-June.
so sooner than later? Because I know Lori's like, she's trickling.
Maybe the 1st of June.
But,
Yeah.
and also to add that, by the time you get your water line in, everything's tested and samples are back and stuff, it could even be a little bit longer than that,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
As
it
far
might,
as-
it might take a little bit of
Might
time.
take a little bit.
Like, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, right? It might
Right.
happen
Right.
in the next, I'm gonna say year type of deal, you know?
Right.
But, I guess one of the benefits to the city is if that 2-inch line, now, so these guys are hooked onto that line and also the bulk plant. Them are the only 4 services that I'm aware of that's hooked to that 2-inch line.
So if it goes out,
If
we
it
have,
goes
we
out,
have a,
if-
we have a backup for
If
it.
it goes out, and these guys are hooked into a different area, we would just have to worry about the bulk plant, how to get them water.
What's
And
the
I know
bulk
they
plant?
bought some property and they're trying to come up with some ideas, so at that
Down
point, they
past
may
the
already
oil.
have a water line going back
Hardens.
in there.
Oh, okay.
Hard to
So, but that would save the city from tearing up Highway 91.
So if you're gonna tie on to the Brent's lines.
We
which
gotta
are
do
gonna be
water
your
model
lines,
again.
Then, and because it's serving more than one resident, it is part of your public system. So we'll have to put it in, it'll have to be on the drawings, we'll have to put it in according to the minimum standards
Yep.
for your system. And it'll have to be as-built. So-
Is that gonna screw up his water model for his pressure?
No.
No? Okay.
Not for you. So, yeah, I mean, the coordination is just, we just gotta make sure that we get it on the drawings.
Right.
That can happen during the as-building phase, it doesn't have to slow down Brent for anything at all. We just gotta get on the drawings, and I can help you sizing that and getting it correct.
Okay.
The other advantage of that, though, is with the bolt plant, is the minimum water line size is 8-inch, okay? So, when you put in a public utility, you gotta put in an 8-inch line. However, there is no minimum water for a service connection. So if the only one left on the 2-inch is the bulk plant, that can now just be a service line instead of a public water line. Because when the 2-inch goes down, you have to replace it with an 8,
8-inch.
right? And so this is an excellent opportunity to, you know, not spend
Mitigate something, a lot of money later, yeah.
Pick up these 3.
So-
areas.
So, yeah, let's get together and do that and find out what the cost would be.
Yeah, let's find
I
out
don't
what
know
the cost-
is.
Well, plus, if they're outside the city, they'll have to sign an agreement that they'd be annexed.
And I guess also think about, like, all of our county residents, we require them to bring their own water in, correct? Like, if it's out in the county, they have to tie in from the main to the service line, put a meter pit in, that's usually up to the
Yes.
counties, to the residents to pay for that section, so. However you guys
Right.
wanna work it, that's just something that we've got set up.
Get the costs and then we'll talk about the
Yeah.
particulars of it, once we know what we're really looking at that way.
So how much is a meter? So give them an idea of how much a meter pit is.
Well, a meter pit and a meter, you just will plan on between 1,800 and 2,000. That's not installed, that's just for parts, right? That's just parts. So then you probably have to hire somebody to come out and dig from the main, do the tap, run it into your house and tie it into your existing water line.
That's if we are not annexed. Or whether or not we're.
Whether or not,
Yeah.
you're
Whether
right,
or
it
not-
doesn't make a
Whether or
difference,
not,
yeah.
because the meter
Yeah.
still belongs to the
Yeah.
property owner. The city doesn't own the meter, so that still does belong to the property owner.
Okay, and so if we do this, will we be annexed?
No, what we're saying is that you have to sign a letter saying that at the will of the city, if we ever desired you to be annexed, you'd have to be annexed.
The city's already providing you water as of right now.
Yes.
This is just a different routing system that is probably gonna benefit you guys for sure, and it's also gonna benefit the city in the long run, so.
But we require that on all new accesses. That doesn't mean we're gonna annex you
It doesn't
tomorrow.
mean we're going to.
It just means that we have the right to.
Okay. So would you guys like me to move forward? I'll get with Dave, I'll get with Brent, we'll go get some measurements, we'll come up with some pricing.
Come up with some
Yes.
prices, let's see what
Yes.
it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's table this. Can you have it by the next meeting? Or do we?
We'll try.
Well, we can table it till the first meeting and.
Let's give it two meetings, let's give it a month.
All right, so I need a
Then
motion to table it.
I'll make a motion that we table this water line talk for the voices and others until Justin gets us the info.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we table it until Justin gets us the information. All in favor? 4 in favor, okay. Jason Jorgensen, Oak Street.
Mayor, can you excuse them if they took over now?
Yeah, you guys are welcome to leave once you're done, if you want to. So,
You're welcome to stay.
you're
too.
welcome to stay. Don't
hang
feel
out
like
if you
you
want
have
to.
I just know she has to get up
Don't
really early in
take
the
this the
morning.
wrong way, but.
to. You're more than welcome to stay, but you can leave. Okay. No Jason? Anybody here representing Jason?
For All-Star Homes?
Okay. Okay. Next, Chuck. Come on up.
Do you know, I love that we can just say Chuck and not use the last name. It's like Madonna or Sherry. Yeah.
Do I need to state the last name?
We want to know where you live.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Shelley someplace. Yeah. Yeah. I'm here tonight to represent the poor old people that head south for the winter. In your last meeting, you had a vote that says you was gonna do away with the people who left for the winter, people who left, you know, for weekly or monthly or whatever, do away with the water. In other words, you're gonna charge us for full services while we were gone. And I would kinda like to see you guys revisit that a little bit. We're gone for 5 months out of the year, and which means we're paying for just a little less than a half a year's worth of, we will be paying for a little bit, half a year's worth of water, sewer, and garbage while we're gone for nothing. And I don't think that's fair. I think if you watch the minutes of the meeting, thanks to Jeff and the community deal, you can watch the meeting, and 2 hours and 40 minutes, you was into that meeting before you started to discuss this, and everybody was tired, and everybody wanted to go home right now, and it was fast-tracked through. And I think this decision was fast-tracked through too. And like I said, I'd like to see you discuss that to help us poor old citizens who are on a fixed income to help us with our water, sewer, garbage. I did, some of the comments that was made during that meeting was that nobody else did this. And another comment was made that they never lived in a city that allowed this. Well, I started doing some researching, and I called from Ashton to Blackfoot, and about 80% of the cities have a plan for those people who leave for the winter. And so, some of them are really good, some of them aren't so good. Some of them do not allow anything like this. Some of them have no garbage for their house. Anyway, they have a private garbage company come get their garbage, and some of them are on a different sewer company. So, like I said, I'm gonna tell you, at least 75% of the people have a program for the citizens who do leave. I talked to Sandy a little bit about it. I thought there were several other people who left for the winter, and there's not very many of us right now that left for this winter.
That's
So-
because nobody else can afford to leave.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, anyway, I'd just like to see you revisit this for us, you know? Whether it be that we have to have the city come physically shut our water off. I don't have the city physically shut my water off. I shut my water off underneath my house when I go, and when I come back, I turn it back on. We always contact City Hall and say, hey, we're going for this amount of time, and we'll be back around this date, and the date we get back, we call and say, hey, we're back on, put us back on the bill, and away we go. So, anyway, any questions?
Do you want to address it now, or we can address it later on? Because it's on the agenda, isn't it, later on down the...
For the ordinances, yeah.
It's on for the ordinances later.
So, I'll be the one. So I made some phone calls too. Not that I didn't trust Chuck, but I was like, I really want to know, and I want to talk to the Sandys of the other places. Like, did Chuck?
There's only
the
one
little-
Sandy.
I know there only is one. Like I
She
said,
doesn't know the last name
okay,
either.
Sandy like people that work in other places.
Okay.
And find out. So I called 4 different places. I went further than Blackfoot. I thought I'd call the new Chubbuck city offices because it's so big and nice and new. And I thought, well, they need to earn their keep. So when I called around, I got the exact same thing. There are some that are like, yeah, we have a plan. And what's that plan? And they're like, yeah, we don't do anything. We don't charge anybody. They just tell us, they fill out a form, and they turn it in. I got a really good opportunity to talk with the lady at the city of Idaho Falls and the utilities department, which understand our city is a way smaller than all these others. And they have multiple people doing multiple things, or they don't touch one another. So I was like, okay, how does that work? And she was really helpful in the fact that she explained exactly what they do, how they do it. They have a form you fill out online, and there's a fee. They will not charge you, but they have nothing tied to it. We have bond levies and whatever it is, but they don't, because they have their own system, and they run their own water and their own electricity and everything else. So what I got from her, the best part was they just charge a fee. And the fee is, if you tell us you're leaving within 5 days, the fee's higher than the fee for if you're telling us you're leaving us more than 5 days. But then they're not charging them for the time they're gone. One of the other ones is like, we have a small crew, we can't get out there as much, just like our situation is. And they said, if you don't tell us in time for us to come out and shut the water off, we might shut it off before you leave, we might shut it off after you leave, but we're gonna charge you either way. And it was a pretty high fee. They're charging $100, and the minimum is you have to be gone 3 weeks. If you're under 3 weeks, they don't charge you, they don't turn it off, because they can't keep running somebody in and out on their crew. So they said if they, Idaho Falls, they have enough on their crew. She's like, we usually even waive the 5 days. So it's good to live in Idaho Falls if you're going to be a snowbird, because they're willing to bend and twist. They even said we don't worry about the garbage, because their rule is if the garbage can's at the road, they're going to pick it up. If it's not at the road, their guy doesn't care. They don't tell their guys who's on and who's off. It just doesn't. And I get it. It's Idaho Falls. It's huge. They got, what,
how
5,
much,
6
how
trucks?
much numbers do we have in our
There's not very many. I thought there was a lot more than
Yeah.
there was, because Chuck came in, we ran a report, and actual people who leave for the winter time, and we charge them unoccupied, there's only like 5 or 6. And one
Okay.
gentleman just sold his property in Arizona, so he won't be leaving for the winter, so probably about 5. And I
Yeah.
contacted Ammon, and they have a bond like we do, but they don't charge for the bond, they just supplement it, or it's just absorbed by the other people that are taxpayers. But they charge $100 and they
$100.
physically go and disconnect it and they remove their
They take the
garbage
can.
can and they charge them that $100 fee. She says $100 fee helps with the bond, helps the people's time going and turning it off and on. And I don't believe their bond payment is quite as high as ours because they have a longer bond term than we did. But anyway, that's how Ammon does theirs.
And she was like, what do you mean bond? I had to help explain it to her. The girl I got on the
Well,
phone.
they challenged that. I mean,
Yeah, I know they were. So I was just like, whatever.
And they told me it was a $25 fee instead of $100.
I'm just
Oh,
joking.
she told me.
Yeah, it was $100.
Yeah.
She told me.
Well, I mean, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
she told me it was $100 because I was like, I didn't think it was. I heard differently. She's like, oh no, it's $100. And so maybe they changed it.
You know, the whole reason
They could have.
the whole
Right?
re-
Things change every 2 weeks.
the whole reason we did this is we were looking for ways to just streamline everything with people
Right.
who are unoccupied. And I think in this case, where there's so few individuals, I think we should.
Well, we thought there was a lot more.
Yeah, I think we just go to
So we go to a fee
a
system.
certain time of the month. If you leave on the 15th, the bill's due on the 10th. You pay that month, and then you go through until the time where you come back, and then you pay the next bill.
Typically, we was prorated by the day.
Yeah,
So I would request just to make it a little more streamlined. with
Streamline
that,
it.
To do it by month to month.
yeah, and just let the people. But your garbage cans probably gonna have to be removed because
Or hid in your garage or
or
something.
put in your garage.
Yeah, if it was locked in your garage. it'd be
Lock it in
different,
your
but A lot
garage.
of
We
people
just-
are using them.
You don't want
You
your
may-
And I agree with you, they do.
We don't want the Kellys. I mean, the people living next door to you to come by and use your garbage can. You're not like
Well,
Actually, it's the
if we know
Edwards.
he's going to be gone for 5 months, it's a nice place to drop extra stuff. I
That's
mean,
right, I drop my
come
stuff.
on,
It's
it
the
works.
Edwards that
Yeah,
live next
I was
to
gonna
him, so.
say.
Oh,
Kurt's going, gosh
Wait a
darn
minute, I
it.
needed that extra can.
So what about like Airbnbs? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, because,
Totally different story.
well, it is a total different story, but we've got people, well, I don't know about if we
It's-
do or don't,
It's,
but I
it's,
know
it's
people
cash business.
I would say that
rent theirs out and pay their house payment.
right, but
How do
I
we distinguish though? I think that's the
Yeah.
question. How do we
Yeah.
identify?
Well, and so if they're leaving for the winter, like Chuck and Dawn would leave for the winter, and then they rent out their house a week, a month, it'd be crazy too personally, but anyway, that's different too.
Right.
So,
I think you have to have a form.
It could-
Idaho
it
Falls,
could-
when
it
she
could
explained it, Idaho Falls explained it as in, you fill out the form, and the form has when you're gonna leave, when you plan to come back, and all the other pertinent information to do with the property. So that
And your home
you,
will be
you,
your
an
home won't
Airbnb,
be
because I
occupied.
asked her specifically, I said, what about Airbnbs? And she said, well, that's kind of interesting. We only have 2 places that have issues. And the 2 places are a lady who owns an apartment complex. She owns a 4-plex. And she wants it turned on and turned off every time somebody comes and goes out of her apartment complex. But I asked her, do you have this issue with rentals and other places? She says they don't. People just leave it on.
If you shut it off, if you shut the water off, they wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
use it as an Airbnb unless they were paying full services and have it turned back on.
Correct.
She says if people are doing that in Idaho Falls inside of the city that does that, she says we wouldn't know. They're not coming in here to ask us to turn it off and on. They're just leaving it on.
okay,
they
so
left it
right
on
now,
and they
we're
paid
not,
full
we're not
services.
turning it off though.
Right.
No,
But
but
we
if we
need to.
did turn it off,
Yeah.
if it's turned off by us, then they wouldn't pay for anything if they left for the winter. If it's not turned on, then they would pay, or turned off, then they would pay full services, which means that they may rent it out or use it as an Airbnb. Because we talked about apartments also, and there would be no unoccupied apartments
No.
anymore.
No.
It would be full
Right.
service, whether they're rented or not.
Right.
Right.
Okay, I have a question. If the sewer plant becomes a district, does that matter?
No.
Okay.
We're still gonna have.
No, so I think we should make an exception for these individuals because it's a different situation. We kind of did lump you in with everybody else.
And I think we
Do you think there should be-
that fills out for you guys. So 1, we have a record, and 2, legit, like Dawn and Chuck are going to be,
So do you
are
think
going to do it.
So do you want it shut off at the road, at the street, and the garbage can removed and charge a fee for that? Or do you just want it, the water shut off and then they have to put their garbage can inside the garage? How do you wanna do that? And BJ can write the ordinance up for like a definition for a snowbird and put that exception for them, right?
Just say they either,
I think it needs to be shut off the road. I think the can needs to be taken.
or it has to be secured in a garage.
So it's
Yeah,
less
but
work
how
for
are you
him.
gonna know? I mean,
Yeah,
Toby will know.
well, yeah, Toby will know
Are
if
you
we
kidding
have,
me?
if we have 5, Toby will know if he remembers after the first month. Because he won't remember after the first month who didn't have a can and doesn't, so, I don't know,
well, and we've got people that have 2 cans. I mean,
right.
it's so if there's 2 cans sitting there, he doesn't know if it's
Uh-oh.
those people's can or Chuck's can type deal.
Well, I think, first of all, we need to sign whether it's a legal agreement or whatever that says, we won't put any garbage out. And we will not put out any, or we will not have any water on. And sign that
And the
legally.
Airbnb.
Well, and if that happens, that only happens once. And if it happens again, hey, we're not gonna work with you. Or we're gonna fine you, or whatever it be,
That's the question.
She,
isn't it?
this lady at Idle Falls said she would send me any of the forms that they have if I wanted them. So if we wanna table it and get those forms and look at it and make a decision off what we wanna see exactly, we can do that. Cause she would do
We
that
have
for me.
6 months until you guys leave again, right?
At this
5
rate on the
months,
weather,
7
it's like
days,
tomorrow.
32
It's
seconds.
like tomorrow. I don't know why you came back so early.
Yeah, I
It's
can't
cold
figure
there.
why you're back.
You know, my niece sent me a picture from St. George the other day, and I was like, wow, yeah, that'd be a nice place to be right now.
So we got 2 options. We can either basically shut it off at the curb and take the garbage can, or we can come up with some other idea.
I think it's worth talking a little bit about some of the ideas. For example, just brainstorming kind of initial reaction, which Chuck, Don, it's good to see you guys. But like, I don't think it'd be worth doing anything if they're gonna be gone less than a month. I wouldn't give anybody.
I agree.
So that, for example, is kind of a baseline. I wouldn't give anybody a break if they're saying, hey, I'm gonna be gone 2 weeks, or I'm gonna be gone 3 weeks. It's not worth messing around with, sorry. But if they're gonna be gone for an extended period like this, then we gotta kind of iron out what those parameters will be. And I think the surest way to make sure there aren't abuses is to have a physical shut off and to do something with the can, whether, and the problem is not everybody's like Don and Chuck. I would just say, Don and Chuck, okay, yeah,
Just
they'll
put a
do it, I trust them.
padlock on it.
Well, that's fine.
There's gonna be
Well, if we
people
had
that try to take
padlock, if we had
advantage,
cans
what do we
that
do?
padlock, like
Well-
the new square ones do, and like Idle Falls and Hammond, they have those that they padlock on the corner, so you could do
I
that.
was just kidding.
But ours don't do
We're
that.
not locking them.
I know, just something,
Yeah, we're not
just something
locking.
like, but do we wanna go to the hassle of pulling them, and then when they come back in spring, do you wanna go back and deliver them? And, yeah, and then what, just for that additional service, the expense that the cities are going, what?
And we gotta
what would it
find,
feel
so I'm curious, if we pull 6 cans, do you got a place to put them that they're not gonna get redistributed? and
Heck.
In a month
Well,
or
we've
two?
got 300 over there right now, or so.
We're okay with that?
Yeah, so that's.
You got space, not anything like that?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you guys decide to do that, we can run over, shut the curb stop off, that's the valve in the front yard.
Right?
The homeowner, if they got 1 or 2 cans, they put them out next to the curb stop, Toby runs down there, dumps them, we throw them in a truck, and we're done.
We're not promising that you get your same can back the next
I
year.
want a new can every time.
Chuck wants one that rolls, that doesn't have a lid to it, a handle that's not wobbly.
Don's gonna crochet. Lloyd.
And it won't be,
Spray
it
paint your
won't be
name
blue
on
or green, so.
So
Okay.
anyway, thanks for your time. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck, Don, good to see you guys.
So I think that's what we do, is move it forward
So do
with,
so do we move to that
we
next
just-
deal?
I think we wait till we get the
Make
order.
a motion and
Yeah,
table
we're
it?
down here that
Okay.
way, so we can,
So what are you done, are you thinking of table it? You wanna get,
we
think
wanna
about
get-
it, or get some form, or?
we can get some stuff. I think we
I
can
just
go
don't
for
want it to
some
become-
lady in Idle
I
Falls,
can
and
tell
we
you
can get
what I
other
think.
ones too if we want.
I just don't wanna become really involved, I mean,
Yeah.
I wanna keep it simple.
Do you still wanna go ahead and consider the ordinances for unoccupied
see you
for
guys.
Thanks, guys.
everyone else other than snowbirds? Cause we were,
Yes.
because right now you're requesting when people come in and get building permits, they have to start paying on those monthly fees. So we needed to make that, so it was the same for everyone, with the exception of snowbirds, if that's what you was gonna do. So if you approve that ordinance, we can hold off with the snowbirds until we add that section or you get more information, if that would work.
Well, I'm all right with
Yeah.
making it easy myself, but
And then after we get that information, then BJ could add that clause with that exception in there.
yeah,
Does that
we'll do
work?
that.
Very good.
Think?
Well,
So we get everybody on the same page for the unoccupied?
yeah.
I'm good, I just don't want it over.
That's what I'm thinking about. is
Yeah, just make it simple.
I know.
basically how I put it.
I think Adam knows how to make it simple, so we'll let him lead that discussion when it gets to the ordinance.
So are we gonna go to metered water?
Just having it on the word.
Don't
That's
bring
what-
up that
The day
word.
I
Go ahead and say that out loud.
I heard.
Did everybody hear that, by the way?
Did you hear that?
That came from somewhere down there on the meter water.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you're not really well, but don't say that.
We can
Okay,
talk about it.
well, so maybe when we get down there tonight, we look at the, because I only prepared the one ordinance.
Yeah.
And this,
But that ordinance would work for what we're doing right now in
Yeah,
regards
that's
to.
what I'm trying to decide, is before we go to the house and doing this, and probably do we want to do it all at once?
I think
Well,
Just have both
but if
ordinances.
It's gonna take us a month or two, and like I said, I've
Yeah.
got people coming in pulling building permits that we're having them give us information to build them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that, for that part of the solution, then, yeah, we could add that
Is
later.
there, oh, there's a mic over there.
Yeah, that's probably.
Is that,
Okay.
is there one beyond that?
all right.
Just knowing that we need to, revisit it.
Check that one, just see
We'll
what
have to
that
do a
is.
little, make a little change.
All right,
So blue.
It's good.
is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda, recognize citizens from the floor. Anybody got any questions, comments? Okay. Chuck, you sent your wife home already? Okay. Good for you.
Remember, we're getting recorded.
New council business. Beer licenses for 2022.
And there's just one, and it's kind of a little bit unique, of Shelley Market, just back here. They have a place to eat in there, and so they want to do two things. They want to sell beer for carryout, and they also want to be able to sell beer for the people eating there that would be consumed on premises. We ran into something that in our ordinance, we have a copy of the ordinance behind there. It says, no person shall sell or dispense beer for consumption on the premises at any place within 300 feet of a public school, church, or other place of worship, measured in a straight line between the nearest entrance to such place and the nearest property line of such school, church, or place of worship. That was measured in the El Tree Market. If you go to the front door, it's 219 feet from the school. The back door is 146 feet. When this was discussed with them, they said the Hard Times sells it, or Food Plaza, which is correct. They do. They've sold it for years and years. I don't know if it slipped through. I don't know if there was a special exception. I'm not sure. I contacted the Bureau of Liquor and Alcohol, the state, and I asked them if they have a state regulation of such, and you have a copy of that also. Idaho Code 23-1011B says bars or taverns not allowed near churches or schools. No license shall be issued for any place where beer is sold or dispensed to be consumed on the premises, whether conducted for pleasure or profit. That's within 300 feet of any public school, church, or other place of worship. Now, it does.
So how does Riley do it?
So,
There,
yeah.
there is an
There's an
exception.
exception.
And except with the approval of the governing body of the municipality, provided that this limitation shall not apply to any duly licensed premises that had it before one of the others was built. So I sent all of this to BJ, and BJ did a little bit of interpretation of it. And you also have a copy of his email response back to me. And there's, based on what our regulations right now, you would need to deny the El Chuli, and you would need to rescind Food Plaza, because both of them are too close within the school or the church.
So,
Or you could amend the ordinance.
when you read the Idaho statute there, BJ, it
Yeah.
says, where beer is sold or dispensed to be consumed on the premises. A
Where
bar.
it says sold
A bar.
or, that's where we was trying to read
So I would
between
think is sold or dispensed to be consumed. Well, they can't consume it in public, correct?
Well, that's.
It's against the law.
Yeah. No,
So-
that part. I thought you were asking another. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking is, as I read that ordinance, I read it as in, they can sell it because they are not dispensing it or selling it to be consumed on the premises at those two locations. They're selling it to take out of that location to somewhere else. Because if you consume it at that location without it being a bar or on this public street, it's against the law. Right?
Right.
So they are within the statute. Because they're selling it for me to take home. I can't
So-
consume
Food,
it.
food plaza is, but El Chewy
Food
wants
plaza,
to,
but
them to
El
be able to
Chewy wants to
consume
be
They
it.
want to consume it on,
Right.
then they
Yeah.
can't have it. 'Cause
Well,
it's a
yeah,
bar.
Yeah,
So
no,
that
it's,
wasn't sure
it,
interpretation.
no, there's two different ways to read that. It's any place where beer is sold,
I don't see a
Or-
comma.
no, that's what
I
I'm saying,
know, I don't
that's
see
the
a
problem,
comma.
there's two
Yeah,
reasonable
there's two ways to
interpretations.
interpret it.
Yes, and I don't have an opinion as far as
Uh-huh.
what the proper way is. You could read this, that no license shall be issued or place where beer is sold, if within the measurements, right? Or if it's dispensed to be consumed on the premises, or you can take out that part of that conjunction and say, where beer is sold to be consumed on the premises. So
Right.
it's two,
Two different ways.
so there's
So-
an ambiguity in the statute.
Or we can amend the
Well,
ordinance to
well,
read
I take it
however
the
we
same way
want.
Leif does. when
That's how I
read it,
take
Yeah.
it.
That it's one thing to sell it and take it home and drink, but it's another thing to drink it on the premises.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
neither of those, unless El Chewy wants to consume it on
Well,
premises.
which,
And they do.
which they do.
Which they
Yeah,
do.
no, they're too close to the school.
And that,
They're within the
if
300
that's
feet.
the way you wanna interpret it, I think that's reasonable. What I was focusing on though was the exception. And basically, it allows for a case by case, almost like a special use permit, that if the city council wants to allow it, then you can. But our ordinance doesn't allow that right now, so we would have to amend our ordinance to have it match up with the state ordinance.
But are we looking at a legal battle over the Idaho statute?
No.
That can be interpreted a
I don't
different
think
way?
so. It
No.
just depends on who wants to challenge it.
That's a stupid law to challenge anyway, it's ambiguous.
Well, not saying that people aren't willing to do what they want to do.
Well,
I
I
think-
think what Jeff is saying though is that, and he's right, and that is, if somebody were to challenge the city's interpretation of it, it would probably be found reasonable because the state would, the courts would defer to the governing body as long as the
Yeah.
interpretation is reasonable. And we've got two reasonable interpretations. You can go either way, and I think either way it would be defensible. That's what I'm saying.
Right, okay.
I have no reason to object to them selling beer at their store over there for consumption on the property.
Then we probably need to amend our
Then,
ordinance.
yeah, then we would.
If you
amend
want
our
to do
ordinance.
consumed on premises.
Right.
Yeah, that's right, and that's, I think that's a reasonable interpretation and within the prerogative of the council to do that. But our statute, or our ordinance would not allow that, so that's that's the decision we gotta make.
So they could do the same thing at Hard Times, right? Food plaza,
Unless you want to interpret this that they can
they could
sell it,
buy,
but not sell.
buy and
consumed.
then start drinking right there if they want. Right?
Well, you
Is that what you're
could,
saying?
you could inside.
Consume on.
That's what
On
I'm saying.
premise.
As a council, we have on a case-by-case basis can decide whether we want to allow
They still have
something like that to
Renew
happen.
their license every year with us, right, not just with the city.
Right.
The
So
city
we
still
have
has
that,
some
we have
control
that
over it.
right to be able to do that.
Yeah. If there's a problem.
I guess
we
my
can
my problem is this,
Problem.
Adam. My problem is that school didn't exist really until just a couple months ago. And and this is so far removed, it's not like kids, you know. the
It
older
wasn't
kids
an
might
oper- it
come
wasn't
over
an
and
operating, it wasn't an operating school until this school year. That's what you're saying?
Right. And
But it was,
anyone who's
it was
gonna-
operating before El Chewy came in.
and
Yeah.
anyone who's gonna consume
But
alcohol is gonna be
It's
carded
been operating,
anyway.
because they've had the computer labs over there and the handicap kids
That's
for a
true.
while, but.
I just don't see a nexus. It's not like it's across the street from it. mean, you can almost go halfway through the block there and deny a beer bar.
Would this be our first, conception, like the place where you could drink in Shelley?
Well, you can drink
Years ago, we had
three bars. When I moved here, we had 3 bars.
So Chief, do you have a feeling on this?
As long as it's been, we certainly haven't had any issues, and I really don't think we'd have one now, honestly.
And they're not asking, they're asking to serve beer only, not hard liquor, like a
And
bar.
if we did, we can review it, if there's problems, then
Yeah, we could look at it on a
we
year.
can.
Case
Annual
by case.
basis,
Every
when they
year.
come to get their
Following
business
year,
license, right?
If it becomes.
When they come to get their
ordinance,
business license, we
but
can review that.
I
Yeah,
don't
every
see
year.
where.
Every year.
They have to.
Because you have to
Reapply every year.
review it.
So we approve them every year.
So we need to change our ordinance then.
If we're gonna do it, we need to change our ordinance.
Yeah.
I think we need to change.
Well,
it.
we're gonna, because we're not gonna tell Food Plaza that they
Hard,
can't.
hard time
So we need to
stop
change
selling
it. Our ordinance.
Yes.
That's one of the interpretations. If you want to try to interpret it, well, you know what, let me go back and look at our statute, because I was focusing more on the state statute. The city ordinance is a little bit
I think it's a little more,
You should have a copy
stricter,
of it.
yeah.
yeah, I think it's strict, like,
What's that? What's that, Adam?
I think our ordinance is more strict.
It is.
It is. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying is the language that Leif was mentioning from the state statute, it is, it's more ambiguous, it has different interpretations, but I'm trying to can't get my fingers to separate the pages here. Anyways, I know ours is more.
Our section A that is more strict, it says, no license shall be issued for any premises that is within 300 feet of any public
Right.
school, church, or place of worship. And then it tells you how to measure it. But this doesn't say, if it's
Doesn't make a
sold
distinction.
or
Right.
consumed.
Well,
So section A doesn't
yeah.
make that.
Well, it does.
Section B
Well,
does.
B does.
B does. And then it says in C that A and B above shall not apply to any premises that meet the qualifications of such subsection at the time the premises were first licensed.
So if they was there and then it was built,
Yeah.
then a school
Right, if
was
a
built
school
by
was
it.
built by it or a church was built by it,
It's
then they
just
couldn't.
grandfathering.
Right. So how did Hard Times get theirs? Years
It
ago.
was
I mean,
before
because
my
it's
time,
been,
so it was a
it's
long
been a
time.
long time since that church has been there. And the school was there long
The
before
church
they
was
built
long-
the
church
gas
and school
station,
were there
right?
long before.
Long
they got
before the
their-
gas station,
their
right?
beer license.
So-
You're probably grandfathered in.
Somehow they got grandfathered in.
It's just like we had a liquor bar on Main Street
Yes, we did.
in the 1970s. I don't care what the state says. Am I right, Stacy?
Yep,
That was a liquor bar. It was a liquor bar.
yep, the club
This
was.
is not a dry city.
And the reason all that came up is because somebody asked me for the regulations and I didn't have any for hard liquor.
I know, but the problem is, as we grow, we end up getting a restaurant, like a Applebee's or something like that. That comes in with a bar that serves hard liquor. We're gonna have to have an election in the town.
That's what the state
States-
liquor bureau told me.
But I don't know why we do when we've had liquor,
Previous.
when we've had a bar, a liquor bar in the town.
We'd have to have an election back in the 30s or 40s. All cities in the state of Idaho had to have an election if they wanted to serve hard liquor, not counting at like state liquor stores. And I looked and looked and looked, could not find any election. So I called the state liquor bureau and asked them if they have record of it. She looked for 2 days and called me back. She said, I can't find anything. I said, so what does this mean? She says, that means if you're going to do it, you have to have an election.
Election to allow it for hard liquor.
That's what she said.
Well, the main question for this evening is, there might be other questions coming in the
Right.
future,
We
but the
need to
question
change
tonight
this.
is, do you want to amend your ordinance to allow the sale or consumption of liquor in the premises within 300 feet of the church or school?
Me and beer.
Yes, we do.
Okay, then, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and allow BJ to
Amend ordinance
amend the
four
ordinance
dash
4-3-7.
3-7.
as it applies to the selling, consumption of beer on
I'll
public
second.
businesses.
Been moved and seconded that we go ahead and have BJ redo the ordinance for the distance from the schools for sales and consumption of beer. All in favor?
Do you
Or-
just want that whole section stricken, or do you want a different footage put or anything like that?
I was considering revisiting the language itself.
Just
Maybe clear
revisit
up
the
some of these
language
things,
overall.
But I didn't, well, yeah, I mean, well, what were you saying, Sandy? Like to totally remove the whole?
Either strike the
Strike.
whole section or come up with a different footage, maybe 100 feet or something like that.
Well, we could do that, but the rule of thumb is that the state's law, and again, you can interpret it one or the other.
It's not as strict as ours is.
Right, but it becomes kind of the baseline.
Right.
the
If we
minimum,
don't have
the
one.
minimum. So if we don't have one, we would just default to the states.
Yes.
So is that what you're saying?
So we
Is like,
need to have,
typically, we're to just
so
cut
we
it
need to
out.
have wording in there.
Then we would
that's
just
similar.
follow the state statute, which allows it
Does the same
with the
thing.
approval from
Right.
the governing body. Or if we wanted to, adjust the measurements, we could make ours more restrictive.
No, I think what we do is we keep the measurement the same, but we allow on a case-by-case basis.
The way
Well,
the state
well-
statute reads, that's what it reads, is that we
Yes,
can make that
yes.
decision.
It says except on the
On a case
approval
by
of the
case.
I
governing
mean,
body.
if the bar were here in the park across the street from the school, I'd have an issue with it. I don't drink. And so it's not an issue of drinking. It's just proximity and, I mean, both these businesses are facing the highway. I mean, it's not like they're across the street from it.
Yeah, no, all I'm looking for is, and Sandy brings up a good point, the
Facility.
direction. Do you want me to revise our existing ordinance to reflect what the state is doing?
Yes.
Or do you want to just
Yes.
delete the whole thing and we'll just default to the state?
Let's reflect.
Rewrite it
Let's rewrite it so it reflects
like the
what they're
state.
To clarify, our so you want to keep it, but make it match up better with what the
Yeah.
state's doing? Okay.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
works, right?
Yep.
I think so, because we don't want to leave it in the hands of the state
State.
statute.
Yeah. Okay, so you got what you need there?
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is business licenses.
What's this, where is this one on State Street for therapy? All access therapy? What is that?
That's
For-
North State, so that's clean up by,
Yep, it's up by him,
it's up by,
and it's
Oh,
for
650 North State.
physical therapy for kids
It's for kids.
and handicapped kids specifically.
Okay.
They actually
There are a
have,
lot
they
of
have like a
people,
swim spa and stuff
there are a
in there,
lot
too.
of people that
Oh,
are
they do?
excited
Oh, great.
Yeah.
for that.
And
Okay,
it's
I'll
for
make a
kids.
motion that we approve all business licenses as stated.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we approve all business licenses as stated. All in favor? 4 in favor. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll keep my size to myself.
Maybe that would be
Oh,
a good
I
pioneer
I
story,
thought maybe
Jeff.
I needed to change something there.
Well,
On that new all access for
Okay,
kids.
so,
Yeah.
next
That'd
on
be
the
a good story.
agenda is consider amending ordinance 8-4-31 and 8-6-17 regarding unoccupied premises of utility bills. So now we're back to the same, to the issue with Chuck.
Right.
So, I would say,
The ordinance I gave you after when we first started the meeting,
Yeah.
that's the ordinance that we drafted.
And you can see with the strike-throughs and the underline what I removed and added. 8-4-31 was pretty simple, just cutting out some things. As I read 8-6-17 with the change of the unoccupied, I felt it was prudent to add that comment about or an alternative monthly charge, but that might, just because it was saying there shall be
This.
assessed
Yeah.
a monthly charge and fee. Well, if we were gonna do away with the unoccupied, but making that distinction, but I don't know, that was just something I added, but may not be necessary.
No, but it could work if we were gonna say charge, you know, a
If
$20 fee for unhooking or hooking back up, whatever it is.
Well, yeah, maybe.
That,
would
wouldn't
still
that
fit
just be
inside
for
there.
snowbirds though?
Yeah, it only
Yeah.
be for
Right,
snow.
so we're talking about this as in, not what we're talking about is
Yeah,
changing and
everyone
adding a
but
snowboarder.
snowboards.
So this is
Yeah.
everything coming in
Yeah,
there.
so based on our conversation earlier, I would suggest approving these amendments. Although I want to read this a little more time, now I'm second guessing myself on the underlying portion.
Yeah, I think you should go back and review it.
Well, I don't know that I needed to add the underlying portion.
Right.
At the time I thought I did, but now, especially with maybe the discussion kind of shed some light on some other things.
I was gonna say, I would cross that out.
Maybe we don't need that, so let's remove the underlying portion, but the other strike-throughs, we can probably do that, but with the anticipation of revisiting this and making changes later to provide a snowbird exception.
Yeah.
So other than that, you could approve it as is, but removing the underlined language from 8-6-17.
Okay. I'm waiting for a motion or a denial.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and approve the changes to 8-4-31 on the billing periods, and then the change to 8-6-17, striking what the underline, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
So what?
Wait, are these ordinances?
You
These
have to do the reading.
these are ordinances, so they gotta be
Oh,
readings gotta
okay.
be done first.
Yeah,
I was just trying to make it fast.
So this is the first reading.
that's what'll get us in trouble.
I know, right?
Do we have a number for the ordinance?
You got yours?
I
Do
mean,
you, got,
do
do
we
you need one for
Adam, we got
reading,
one.
Adam?
I don't.
Here,
Jeff already, I got it.
We don't have an ordinance number?
No.
pending.
All right, I move to suspend the reading of ordinance number pending on 3 different days and read the title of ordinance number pending once. City of Shelley, Bingham County, Idaho, an ordinance amending the application of monthly water and sewer fees to unoccupied residences and providing an effective date.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? All right, 4 in favor. Okay.
All right, I move to adopt ordinance number pending, City of Shelley, Bingham County, Idaho, an ordinance amending the application of monthly water and sewer fees to unoccupied residencies and providing effective date.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Jeff?
Aye.
Lev?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
4 in favor.
Told him to use my paper.
Let's see, D, let's find where I'm at, I didn't put a mark on my
I
last
think that
one.
was D.
No, that was C. C was,
Oh, yes, for the,
8C.
yeah. Consider amending policy for connection fees for outside city limit water use.
So it's always,
Services.
it's always been policy for connection fees for water, that it was double whatever it was in the city. So when it was 1,300 here, anyone lying with outside of the city limits would pay 2,600. Now that you've increased it to 5,000, do you want to leave that policy in place and charge 10,000, or do you want the 5,000 just to be for everyone, whether they're inside or outside city limits? This isn't an ordinance or resolution, it's policy.
Well, I don't wanna charge anybody 10,000.
I don't either.
What?
I'm personally okay
I
with
think
it at
I'm,
5,000.
I think
so.
5,000 is sufficient.
What do you guys wanna do?
I think it is. Is it, I mean, we're talking about outside,
Yeah,
Right.
right? So is it really, how much more does it cost us outside?
well, they're on a meter.
Well, and they have to pay for that
So is it
meter,
not costing anything else
Yeah.
other than what they pay for?
the meter.
And then the hookup fee?
what does it cost the city?
But it doesn't
Right.
cost the city anymore.
Yeah, I'm good with leaving it as
So
5,000.
But I'm good with that.
Okay. So I need a motion just to get rid of that?
Yeah, so
Policy.
basically you wanna make the motion to charge the 5,000 whether it's inside or outside of the city limits, and
It's a resolution, right?
It'd be a policy.
Policy.
Resolution, for connection fees, we never had included that. Just
Okay.
policy.
Make a motion that we change resolution or policy allowing, for $2,600 outside the city be changed to just $5,000, as a connection fee,
The same as what's inside the city.
as the same as inside the city.
I'll second it.
All right, moved and seconded that we go ahead and just charge the same fees outside the city for connections as we do inside the city, which is 5,000. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. So, we got a ghost back here.
Noise going off in the background.
Don't say that.
Discussion.
Creeps him out.
All right, okay. Let's see. Discussion on ordinance requiring minimum of 24 by 24 garage size, width and of driveway. Jordan, chime in on this just a little bit.
Alright, so we said
Now,
this-
I'm not putting you on the spot or anything.
so we said
I'll
this-
take the blame for anything you say.
So we set this ordinance back in September. So we had a minimum 2-car garage, but we didn't have a dimensional size, and we were getting people coming in and wanting to build small garages and calling it a 2-car. So we went in and set a dimensional number, not a square footage number, an actual dimensional number. And we're taking quite a bit of grief on it, because, how do we put this? So we got a lot of contractors not happy with that size because a lot of their plans ain't speccing them out on the plans already. Me personally, I feel like we set that number for a reason, and that's an outside dimensional number. So we take that 24 foot, we go on the inside of the garage, now we're 22.8. And we start building stairs in there to go into the houses, utility closets, we get clear back down to 18 feet deep. So if we don't start with that, a vehicle can't fit. So, I know back when we set that, we looked up different vehicle dimensions. I mean, a full-size truck is 22 feet. A crew cab long bed truck is 22 feet long. So, not everybody has that truck, but if we don't keep this standard, there are people out there with them size vehicles that will not be able to fit in a garage on a new house.
So what's the big issue with, other than just putting something behind the garage, is that it? Roof pitch, is that it?
The number one issue I'm seeing is all these developers and contractors want to draft one set of plans and build 50 homes off of it. They don't want to change them plans to meet our size requirement is some of the biggest feedback I've got.
You know how hard it is to amend something like that if you're just gonna go in the width of a garage?
It's easy. Because I had one developer, he had 3 sets of plans I turned down, and the next day I had all 3 new sets that had been changed.
It's not that difficult.
It's not that difficult.
I mean, you
But
change,
then I've got some I've been
and change the
arguing
pitch
with
of the
for-
garage.
I've got some I've been arguing with for 3 weeks because they don't want to follow this ordinance.
So here's something interesting. I took it a little further. I went and measured some people's garages that are building right now their own, or having their own personal house built. I never found one garage that wasn't bigger than 24 by 24, if they're building it for themselves or having it built. But any of them that are being built to be sold as spec homes are smaller in the county.
And to add to that, I've seen the same. I have had one homeowner that their plans have come in, the garages have been small. But 2 weeks ago, I turned down 9 sets of plans that had garages too small.
And if you have a 24 foot outside, you're actually 22 foot 8 inside.
Right.
So if you take that and you put a garage door and then your steps coming out, and you put a freezer in your garage, you're not.
I'm
far
gonna play
from it.
devil's advocate. Number one, I want to thank you. You're doing a great job, Jordan. I'm
Thanks.
so glad you're looking at everything. How many people have garages that they don't even park cars in because they use it as storage units? Anyway,
Oh,
I know a few people, I don't have a garage, so I know a few people that do though.
So that's one thing, like, there's so many people, and they own their own house, but they don't
Yeah.
use it. So are we being,
So the difference with outside and inside, Kim, is only
16 inches.
16 inches.
so we just need to,
59 square feet.
What's the setback from the property line to the front of the garage?
It depends on the zone. So like like in city limits, a lot of our old R1 is 30 feet off the right of way.
Right.
The RE estates, it's 55 to 65 right now. There's probably our two main ones, the R1 and that residential estate zone.
'Cause I know the one PUD that we were looking at, it was 20 feet, that we were looking at doing, and that was one of the reasons when we were talking about the garages is there's not room in a driveway to park a truck, so you gotta get it in the garage.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
It's sticking out in the road,
Across-
sidewalk and in the road.
sidewalk is sticking out.
And you're right, that's the one that.
What, were we talking about the one with the side yard?
No,
Just
we're
in
talking about-
general,
Yeah.
like,
What's,
in
Side
town.
yard we did with the 25 feet,
Yeah.
turn if they go into the side.
what's a 20-foot then? What's a 20-foot
That was
offset?
PUD.
No, that was the PUD that we were doing down here on Oak, that we were gonna have to go 20
yeah.
feet
The one
instead
6
of.
years ago.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
still isn't built.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a null point, that's the only one we've done an exception for, looking at an
basically, we
exception.
just need to change the ordinance to
Right
state
now,
No, no, no.
right now, we're at
Right now,
24 by
24.
24.
outside,
Yeah,
Outside.
so you end up with the 22.8 inside, so 22.8.
and you'd like
by
us to
22.8.
change it.
No, 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 no.
No.
I don't wanna see it change.
We don't wanna see it change.
He doesn't want
No
to see
reason-
it change. Some of the contractors want it changed, so I put it on there so we could talk about
And
it.
there's no reason
Oh.
to have it changed.
Yeah, we're not changing it.
It seems like the process is working exactly the way we envisioned it when we set that.
Yeah, and I've had some feedback from some homeowners, that are actually very happy with it, because they wouldn't have thought to look at that on their plans until the house was built, and they went to pull in their garage and couldn't park in their garage.
Because the
So,
steps were in the way, and they couldn't put their second or
Because it
third
wasn't-
fridge in there, and it was all
We
good,
have
so.
someone that wants to say something, if you want to call them. No? Okay.
No, so I just put it on there so that I've had people ask me about it, so I put it on there so we could talk about it.
so when we passed this before, the 24 by 24 was so that there was more garage space. That's the way I took it, right? So to me, if they had like a 2-car garage or had a 3rd-car garage, that would be ample enough, in my opinion, I guess, is that would be sufficient. If they had a 3rd-car garage, because they'd have plenty of garage space. So I don't know that I'm necessarily for the fact that you can park your truck in one of it. I mean, I can see it, but I think if they had a 3rd-car garage, I think that's ample enough. They don't have to necessarily have to have a 24 by 24, but. I mean,
So you're
that's
talking
my
square
feeling.
footage versus,
Well, they still need to
Measure
have
inside,
a depth
outside.
though, to park the vehicle in, even if you have a 3rd-car garage.
They're not parking their vehicle in it.
I mean, if you have,
your depth is very important for the fact that you have anywhere from 2 to 4 stairs coming out of the
Right.
house into the garage, which can be anywhere from, they gotta be 11 inches per stair, so. I do have houses with 4 stairs, which get you out 44 inches. I do have
4
houses
feet
with utility
into the garage.
closets, water heater.
Sure, sure.
furnace, which are anywhere from 3 to 4 feet deep by 8 feet long.
So you're saying, but a truck is 22 foot,
A full-size truck is 22 feet.
But you can't
So
walk in
you're all-
front of it or behind it.
but you're already at 22.8 on the inside.
You're right.
Yeah.
So if you put the stairs, it doesn't, so the depth,
Yeah, your truck might not fit there, no.
even if
But,
we,
but when you look
even
at the
width is
dimensions
24.
of new vehicles and everything coming out, everything's getting bigger, nothing's shrinking.
no, I don't disagree with that.
And
Horse and buggy, we can't afford gas
Yeah.
anymore.
That's great, let's do it.
do not park your horse in the garage. Just saying, not a good idea. The
I'm
buggy,
just
sure,
saying,
but
and
the
I'm
horse.
not disagreeing with the 24 by 24. I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like a 3rd-car garage would be sufficient. I don't know if we would say something like, or have a 3rd-car garage or something
So
like
what
that.
kind of measurement would you put on the 2-car part?
And the 3rd car. And the 3rd
'Cause
car.
then
Yeah,
you're-
and I don't
you're-
know.
Then you're back down
Just-
to,
So
are you
our
gonna
ordinance
shrink down
reads
their plan?
24 by
Yep,
24.
24 by
It
24.
does.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's
square
minimum.
footage, because if we would've done a square footage, someone could've put a 10 by 50 and hit the same square
Yeah.
footage. And
True,
triple
true.
the car.
See?
and we want a 24-foot
We want
driveway.
24-foot.
I guess when we
Two-car
were,
garage
to me, when
driveways.
we were passing it, I was looking more of the width than I was of the depth.
Yeah, and I'd say the depth.
I was looking at the depth, and I was looking at the width too.
Are we putting
Because you have-
too much on what we want versus what other people want?
No, listen, guys, we are setting ordinances for the city to follow. This isn't policy that we change every other day. We're running down a serious rabbit hole as members of the council by looking at changing long-term subdivision ordinances on a daily basis. There's a developer that watches online, and I won't say his name, but he said, you guys are getting run around with your nose rings by allowing developers to come in constantly and dictate what they want because someone doesn't want to have a long enough driveway or they don't want to build a big enough garage. We set these policies not because they're our own personal beliefs, even though that's what people might claim we do. We set them because they're what other cities do, and they're long-term. And we should be very careful when we go to change them that we think long and hard about it. We don't just do it on a whim because tomorrow somebody else is going to be here wanting something else. And I just think we need to be careful in that regard. It's just my personal opinion.
So,
It's the right opinion.
and I agree, because, for example, one of the houses I measured out in the county, the one side was 24 something deep inside, and it was 23 and a half inside, and then the third car garage was 13 feet by 30 feet. So it's a house that they're building to sell. But it doesn't matter, in my opinion. I was just trying to go out and measure some different houses that were framed up so I could measure, and didn't get permission, so I'll probably get arrested, no. But anyway, they weren't enclosed, so, they weren't posted. Anyway, just to get an idea.
Right.
And so I was curious of what people were doing that were selling spec homes and people that were having custom homes built.
Right.
And that's what I found out, was custom homes or people that are having a home built, they were all bigger. And some of the spec homes had bigger garages too, because if you want to
And I
park.
think we're being consistent, because remember, we first never had a garage.
Never had
Yeah.
it even.
And we had people come in and complain about it, that we were putting garages on. In fact, I had a guy down in Bingham County that supported me running for the county commissioner who was extremely upset with me for making that kind of a rule in the city and thought it was inappropriate. But we did that because we wanted people to have consistencies in homes and everything else. And one of the things is to be able to park your cars. And if you choose not to because you fill your garage with junk,
Okay, so I have one more question for Jordan.
then fine, but
What
That needs to
are
be
the
standard.
developments, what are the developers, why are they so against the 24 by 24? Like, what's their reasoning?
The main reason I have seen is because these plans that get drafted, and they draft them for other cities, they draft them from other spots, they wanna build, they don't wanna have to pay the money out to redraft them. I've had a couple.
And how far off are they? Give us like,
Anywhere, some of them are 20 feet wide by 22 feet deep. I've had 22 by 22, some are off a foot. They kind of varies, it kind of bounces all over through there. Like I said, I've had some contractors that they don't even question it. I say, hey, I'm sorry guys, but these plans are wrong, this is what needs changed. A day or two later, I've got a brand new set on my desk ready to review. They've already got foundations in the ground and are going. And I've got some that I turned down 3 weeks ago and I have not seen new ones. So, I mean, for instance, I'll get plans with Idaho Falls site plans on them because of that. Like, the developer or contractor has that set of plans, they don't even take the time to look at the site plans and change the site plans. They just hand them a set of plans in.
okay.
They don't know.
I had an architect from Idaho Falls who designed my home. He put the garage in 2 feet from the rest of the house. And the developer and the builder came along and said, "This is stupid. I'm not gonna build, I'm gonna build the back of your house straight. I'm gonna give you 2 more feet in your garage, and we're gonna go 24 feet. And so we did, and it was great because we had all this space, and then my wife stupidly made me put shelves in. And now I go to pull my vehicle in.
You gotta have the
And
tennis
I
ball
ha-
hanging
literally,
there.
literally, it's this far from the thing to get it in the door.
Okay, so, is everybody happy with where we're at, or do we wanna,
No.
It's just
I
the way
think we're
life
right.
is.
I think we keep it.
okay,
Don't change it.
then we'll just leave it like it is. Okay, next on the agenda, consider annual street improvements. Justin,
So I have not got bids yet. This is just kind of a preliminary to make sure these are the roads I'd like to work on.
Before we started talking, I asked him.
We've got Aspen, East Locust, East Elm, and then the Nature Trail.
Sorry, say that again.
We've got Aspen, East Locust, East Elm, and then our Nature Trail. So, with the oil being as high as it is, I cannot get a price on asphalt and also seal coating and crack sealing. If they give me a price, it's good for 2 to 3 days. So I'm having a hard time working up a budget number because of that reason. They're saying within the next week, they should have some numbers we can work off of. They're trying to close contracts with the people they deal with. So,
I love putting a commodity on the road we drive on.
so anyways, I don't know which roads will be overlays, which ones we'll do scrubbing on, and which ones we'll do crack sealing and seal coating. I have not got that figured out yet because of that reason.
Don't know what that number is.
So, but these are the 4 areas I'd like to work on.
Yes, please.
Aspen,
East
East Locust.
East Locust, please.
And
Thank
what was
you.
the other one?
We've got Aspen,
East
East
Locust.
Locust, East Elm, and then the
East Elm.
trail.
East Elm and the trail.
The
And I
trail-
did
Trail
talk
is
to
awesome.
Dusty, and he's going to be on that house he's going to make sure that he's on top of them to get that replaced.
And on the trail, I haven't revisited with the county this year, but one of our meetings we had with the commissioners last year, they would like to do their part of the trail also. So if we end up crack sealing and seal coating, whatever company we go with, we'll probably have them do the whole trail. You know, we'll work with the county on this, right, but we'll have them probably do the whole trail.
Yeah.
We'll pay for our part, county pay for their part.
Awesome.
All I know is the new stuff that you laid looks so
It's
nice,
really
it's
good.
so good. Cause I don't know, if you guys have not walked the trail, there's a lot of broken areas.
There is.
Yeah.
there is, yeah.
So,
We'll go through before that, right, and fix everything we can and stuff. So that way, once it's cracked, seal coated and done, we're good for,
I want you to make it wider.
You can't walk down a 6-foot wide path?
Not when you have 6 grandbabies with you.
I just wanted to know what you were drinking before you went for a
You're
walk.
saying it's right by the cliff, Kim. Do we gotta tether you? What's going on?
You gotta show them the little ducklings.
Yeah.
They're supposed to go.
Oh,
Line
one
up
at a
behind
time.
you.
They're supposed to be.
They
Yeah.
are cute as ducklings, aren't they,
It's
Jace?
like herding cats.
I'm a little biased.
Okay,
Nana
so,
can do some one-on-one.
so let's see what the prices are, Justin, we'll kind of tentatively plan on that, but let's get pricing and then we'll see where we're at on our budget for sure.
Okay, so I'll work on some areas, get some budget numbers put together, and the next council meeting, and hopefully we'll have some numbers we can go off of.
Okay,
And, okay, all right, appreciate it.
all right, next on the agenda. Consider water
Restrictions.
restrictions
That's Kim.
for
That
summer
says Kim
season.
right on the front
Kim,
of it.
So,
what would
we,
you like, Kim? No.
well, what I would really like, no, so we've already received from Stink River Irrigation, like, there's going to be water restrictions for us, we're never gonna hit the high water mark. I just feel like instead of waiting until it's so bad, the whole drought thing, that we do our part to make sure that the city is doing the best they can for the environment and for the farmers and everything like that. So I would like to see like every other day.
That's what we did in the past. So we don't actually have an ordinance because we don't really have enforcement power to do that. So how we've always did it in past years is made it so you request, you know, hey, people be more diligent on conserving water, we call it a water conservation policy. And so we try to put a message on the bills, asking them to do it every other day, to not water during the heat of the day, not water, just because there's 7 days in a week, so pick one day not to water on. It seems to have worked pretty good like that. We tried to do odd numbers or odd addresses on odd days. That didn't work,
That didn't
because too many people have their sprinkler system set up and would call and ask us, hey, can't we do it on this day? So if you just ask them just to only do it every other day, that seems to work the best.
Okay, so you don't wanna do like this side of the track, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, this side of the track, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday,
There's really no way to
enforce it?
Enforce it, yeah.
anyway.
Okay,
So, in a low water year, what are we looking at, Justin? I mean, or is our water in that much of jeopardy if we are in a drought situation for the city?
Well, it's drawn out of the aquifer, so I'm sure as the water table diminishes, we're gonna be, I mean, it could be possible that the way our pumps sit, we could start sucking air, yes.
and I already know of 2 families on the outside in our county sucking air from their well.
Yeah, but they probably only have a 150-foot
Where do
well.
they put their well?
Well,
So-
they're older wells.
So I know this for sure, our water rights for our wells, all of our wells, are old enough that we probably won't get curtailed unless it gets extremely bad.
And
But-
that's great.
But all the farmers are gonna get curtailed.
Yeah, I just want, as a city, I think we should show that we're doing our part.
What's our most shallow bowl
Pardon?
pump?
What's the shallow?
Most shallow
Shallowest?
pump in our wells.
Well number one's the one that's like right on the edge. Well, we pump about 600 gallons a minute out of it.
Well number two.
We pump it up to
Same.
touch. It's
Same
the same,
level?
but well number, yeah.
And it
It's
starts,
it's
and
the
starts
one
to
that's
suck,
housed over the shop, well number 1 and 2.
and it
is
starts
mine.
to suck
One
water,
slash
right?
two.
Starts to suck air.
So,
Help a guy out.
Okay.
yeah, so if we pump up to 50 gallons more a minute, we start cavitating, start sucking air. So that tells us our water table on that one
Is
we're like
low.
pushing it right now.
Yeah.
How deep is the
I
well?
don't want it to be like, oh, look how the city of Shelley, their grass is so green, and everyone else is curtailing it, and where's this at?
170, somewhere right around there.
Okay,
So,
the other ones are,
Anybody that waters out of the
200 plus,
canal
right?
got a letter,
Yeah.
and
The other ones are the other ones aren't any deeper, but the water table's higher.
okay.
anyway, everybody got a letter if you water out of the canal. And it was basically, if you get caught wasting water, then they're gonna shut you off. But like, for example, I've got 10 acres and they're only gonna have the canal half full. So for every acre, you get 2 hours. But if the canal's half full and I get it for 20
hours.
days, it doesn't matter because there's not enough water pressure to push it down anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if they're only gonna be half full, then
Some places aren't gonna get
aren't
water
gonna get watered anyway, yeah.
without adding a pump to pump it out into the fields. or
Yeah.
however they do it.
So I don't know if they're classifying wasting water as if it hits the road, it's wasting water, or if it's running too often, but I know if you're flooding, you're on a 14-day rotation. If you're sprinkling, I'm assuming it's not, but I actually haven't read the one that my mom got, so I guess I don't know.
It's 14 days if you're sprinkling. Yeah, on a rotation.
So they're both
basis.
on 14-day rotations.
But they're gonna have to revisit it because you'll run into problems with laterals and flooding
Yeah,
and everything and not having enough water, like you said, to run it. So they are gonna revisit it according to Gary Dial.
So, in this case, we're thinking about it or talking about it.
Yeah.
What, going every other day is fine. When do we start implementing that? Because I know I had my yard sprayed and it's now snowed for 6 out
I
of the
just say we
7
put
days
it out
since
on the
it was
next bill.
sprayed.
We could start on the May 1st.
Yeah, just put it on the main.
yeah,
First
and
May.
you can just ask people to help conserve water this year, and
So it's a thing for every other day.
Okay.
So that means when you're brushing your teeth, shut off the water.
Just do it every other day, wouldn't it?
yeah, okay.
There you go.
Every other day.
Justin's got the answer right there. Every other day.
Your wife is so lucky.
And by the way, you can only shower every 3rd day now, so. Okay, So, let's put it on the bill and just ask people to kind of conserve. Next, set the budget hearing date. Sandy, got any ideas?
Yeah. So by April 30th of each year, we have to designate our date, according to state law. So I have 3 dates here in mind. There is like, shoot, I forgot to write down what day it is, but August 30th, 31st, or September 1st. And I know it's not on a Friday and it's not on a Monday, so it's gotta be Tuesday.
Okay, August 30th, okay, hold on, you said August,
Sandy's like, I
Give
don't know
those
what
dates
day it
again.
is, but pick one of
Is it-
those days. It's
Okay,
a
so
Tuesday or a
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Thursday.
September 1st is a Thursday, the 30th is a Tuesday. I mean,
So Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the 30th, 31st, or the 1st.
When the budget hearing, isn't
That-
that
that
Tuesday
one-
our council day?
No, because there's
No.
5.
I
Because
couldn't
there's
hit
5 in
one-
August.
Yeah, I couldn't hit one that would go on a normal council day, so this would be a special meeting.
So I would like to do the 30th if it's possible.
Why?
I just assumed do the 1st myself, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
I'm more of a 31st guy, which is a Wednesday or a Thursday than a Tuesday.
Because I always have Tuesday nights off. I work usually Wednesdays and Thursdays nights.
That's my.
I'm fine, I don't care,
So it sounds like the 30th.
the 30th is fine.
So the 30th, and what time do you want to have it?
Early.
Do you want to do it like at 6 o'clock? And-
Sure.
Okay.
Does that give you guys enough time to get off work and back?
Adam?
Yeah, as long as the mayor's bringing pizza.
We'll order pizza, no problem, don't you do that every year, Andrew?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
That's usually the work meeting.
Oh,
That is not the
Oh,
budget
this is a-
hearing. This
I
is the
think this
hearing.
is a
Well, this
Fuji
year it's gonna be both the
Isn't
work
this
meeting
when he's
and the
gonna
budget
bring
hearing.
the Fuji?
Oh, wait.
Fuji.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is
This is the actual hearing we're
Hearing.
oh, that's Longstock. Longhorn, I mean.
Longhorn.
Longhorn
okay.
That's
State,
Longhorn
yeah.
night. There.
Yeah.
Love it.
So anyway, I actually need a motion in a second to set the budget hearing for that day.
I'll make a motion that we do our budget hearing on August 30th,
And the mayor's buying dinner.
2022 at 6 p.m. And the mayor's buying dinner.
I second it.
Longhorn being the.
okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we're having our budget hearing on September 30th at 6 PM, and we're having pizza, all in favor? 4 in favor.
See how we changed
I didn't
that
see Kim do
motion?
that, but, okay,
Okay, so when it comes time for work meeting, I'll get back with you once we get rolling on it, okay?
Okay.
all right. Consider,
Surplus.
surplus of 140 feet of well casing. How big a well casing? Is
10
it
inch.
plastic or metal?
It's still 10-inch.
How much? How much do we want to sell it for? I want to buy it.
No, I want to buy it.
Okay, we'll bid on it.
There's an open bid process that has to take place, and now we have to make it a sealed bid because of these two.
Tell me how much they're gonna pay, I'll give $1 more.
And I'll give you $2 more and a haircut.
He doesn't need a haircut.
Gosh. Once again, I think we're moving our way to a sealed
Justin,
bid
do we
quick.
need, we don't, obviously we don't need the well casing, right?
No, so this is the well casing off of well 4 that we redone
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2
I think
years
it was,
ago.
2 years ago. Back when we did it, scrap steel price was down to like $20 a ton. So we've just been storing it. Right now, scrap is up to $130 a ton. But having said that, when you weigh this out and stuff, there's roughly $200 worth of scrap. It's like 21 pounds per foot times 140 feet gives you 3,000 pounds. And so we're looking at $200 in scrap. I do have one of my employees that would like to purchase it, which would give us a lot more than scrap price.
Oh.
What size is it?
It's 10-inch. Yep.
That'd be nice to stop people from backing into buildings.
Do you back into
Mayor's
buildings?
cutting it up and
People back
making
into
posts
buildings,
into the
believe it or
buildings
not,
all the
No, I meant
time.
to you.
No, I don't, but people do.
Can you reuse it for a well?
No.
No.
Oh, I don't
Well,
want
this has been in the ground, I'm gonna tell you, 40 years, right?
It's old.
Like, it's old rusty stuff, there's spots on it that are thin, there's spots that got holes in it from being in the ground for so many years.
the mayor can have it.
So it's not,
She withdraws her bid.
She's out.
No haircut.
yeah,
No bid,
the
no
reason we
haircut
took it
either.
out, right, was because of the
It
shape
was,
it's
yeah,
Right.
it was shape.
So no, it's not holding water. But
Anyways,
it might
2
hold
years ago, I
concrete.
never did surplus it, so we're just going through the steps now to surplus it. Like I
You
said,
know,
I
we
have
can
no
put hidden
interest
treasures all down
in it.
there.
That's, I guess, up to you guys to decide, and that's what the price, if you'd like to go that route.
You get me a bin.
How many
Pay
feet do
some
they
money.
want? They want it all?
I believe so.
Didn't you tell me a price of 12 to 1,500?
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, if we're into $200 in scrap, $1,000, well, for, I mean, that employee, I think, would be getting a fair price. I think we're definitely getting more than scrap out of it, so. Because, I mean, some of it's still good pipe, right? It's still decent for corner fence poles on the farm, or it's still decent for some of that stuff, but there's a lot of it that's not.
See, you're throwing out my ideas
Some
here
ideas, I
because
know.
I need to hang some gates and, you know, that'd be
Yeah.
perfect. Weld some gates. No, okay. I don't.
So anyways, that's where we're at with that.
So if we sell it to your employee, I gotta negotiate with him to get a couple of them, though, a couple of pieces, so.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we will surplus the 140 feet of well casing.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we surplus the 140 feet of well casing. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay.
Okay, so do
Okay,
you want them to
second
sell
part.
it to employee, and you wanna establish a price, or what?
Justin, tell us price, and then after you can tell me who it is, and I'll negotiate. See if they'll sell me some of it. So, I am not setting the price because I'm gonna go negotiate with the person buying it. Does that make sense?
At least you got full disclosure here.
Yeah, full
Yeah,
disclosure.
let's be honest with you.
Yeah.
Is it Justin or Jordan?
You know, I don't even know how I'd put a percentage on the pipe as far as usability.
Why don't you
I'm
just
thinking like
ask for
$1,000 or
proposal?
so.
What's that?
So why don't you just ask for a proposal? If it's more than scrap price, then you're doing good.
I mean.
Right, as long as we get more than scrap,
Whatever, it's out.
Okay, so typically, if it's an employee, you set the price, so it's a matter of record, so if you're gonna put it out for bid, then we can accept sealed bids,
Right.
or we can send it to bid.
Yeah. That's probably the, I think.
So you can't just
kind of
take
the
one
better-
proposal, is what I'm saying,
better
you have to put it
practice.
out for bid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unless,
if you're asking me to say a price, I'm gonna say $1,000. I feel like for $1,000, we're getting well
Is it
over
not
scrap
hearing
price,
it?
that's 5 times scrap price. Plus, we
Not
don't have to
hearing it?
spend the time to load the
I
all up there.
turn it on.
You gotta go over and touch the computer.
I'll make a motion that we approve the surplus case piping for $1,000.
I'll say, Mayor.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the $1,000 for the well casing. All in favor? 4 in favor. Okay. Old council business. Discussion on artillery and collector roads. Have we gone over any of that, Justin and
Pardon?
Dave?
What's that?
Sorry, on the
Yeah,
roads.
We did, so, do you guys have that exhibit?
Yeah, so you guys all have a map behind the memo that looks like this.
So the thing that's important about this discussion is that the state actually defines the road classifications, the arterial and the collector road. And the reason that's important is because once the state has established a title for a road as either an arterial or a collector, those roads are actually eligible to be financed through some of the funding programs, right? And so they're the ones that set that. There is a program that allows you to petition roads to be considered for the state to designate as one of these other road, you know, an arterial or a collector. And so the question is, first off, do you have a problem or disagreement with the classifications that the state has already identified?
Our maps are a little vague.
I was gonna say, I can't tell what,
I can't.
so what's New Sweden and what's Center and what's,
Yeah, New Sweden, North Park.
and
Well,
First
New
Street?
Sweden is the road that.
Right.
Well, no, I
What
know
is
what
it
they are,
classified
but on
as?
this map.
The
I can't
legend
tell.
doesn't help us, Dave.
Well, let me show you.
On our map. it
On our,
doesn't tell.
on our copies, the
Everything is
legend
black
is
and
not
white.
helping. It's all the same color.
It's all collector
Size,
except for the
yeah.
highway. The
Yeah,
highway
it's
is
all
arterial, but everything else is collector.
This was in color when I said it to you.
I know, but I don't have a way to cover it.
Okay, so,
That makes sense now.
Yeah.
We thought this was a very funny joke, man.
But it's all the same. Everything's collector except for the highway. It's
Yeah,
So-
arterial.
and Dave didn't think I knew what roads were what here.
Well, that's because I'm like, it's color coded. Sorry.
We're all
Okay.
colorblind.
Okay, I think
The only-
for the budget, let's
only
get a
blue one was the
color
highway.
printer for Sandy.
Okay, so everything is collectors except the highway.
No, the only two roads that are classified are the ones I put, these two, that's it.
Or which one? Center Street? and
Center
Westford?
Street and New Sweden.
Yep,
So we need to get those others
well, and
designated.
Westford, sorry.
Oh,
And-
wait a minute.
And Westford.
Westford.
And they're-
Westford.
they're all collectors.
And they're all collectors.
I say we get them
Right.
changed to difference, like Center's gonna be
So
a minor
they're-
arterial,
They're 3-lane type streets, then, right?
and Westford needs to
Yes.
be a minor arterial.
And so
Now-
the reason that's important is because in our ordinances, a collector street just falls under the 62-foot highway.
Okay, so that's a 3-lane street with curb and gutter.
That's correct.
Can we have wider streets for like a park strip with a walking path or?
Yes, we can, but the way we have to get that is we have to change our ordinances to be less vague than just collectors are the 62-foot right-of-way and arterials are the 80-foot right-of-way, because that's what we have in our ordinances. If we want something different in our ordinances, then we can say, these streets have to have this right-of-way. We can make our own map, for example, that says that, we just haven't.
Now, but we can't change the designation, or we can petition for it, but if we do, we could lose federal funding if we change them, right? Is that what you told me?
No, so if they are on the state's registry as an official road, they have to be built to the state standard, not to the city standard, right? So when, like Center Street, for example, is a collector, when Center Street goes in, that has to be built to the state standard. That
Okay.
means they have to use a state paving, oil, which is more expensive than what you guys
Right.
generally use.
So if we keep it collector, we're fine. But if we want to have a wider right of way in addition to that, then we need to specify that in our
That's
ordinance.
correct.
And we need to immediately address that.
And if there are any other roads that in the future you think, hey, these roads, like East Fir, for example, say, hey, East Fir needs to be wider on the east end or whatever roads you decide. We can add those, and Justin and I can make a map that says, in the city of Shelley, these roads require 80-foot right-of-ways or 62-foot right-of-ways.
Would that help us ever get a grant on that?
If we changed them,
The only way you're gonna get grant money on them is they gotta be on the state registry. They
so
have to be-
what you're saying is, if we change our ordinance to fit what our need,
Mhm.
but we don't register it with the state, then we can end up doing that work, we can bid it out or whatever. But if we register it with the state, it comes in at their costs, their standards, all that other stuff.
Yeah, and when you guys do your transportation studies and we look for federal funds to help you with your road projects and stuff, if they're classified by the state, then they're eligible to be funded through those programs. If they're not on that map, then you can't apply for funding for them.
So we need more roads on that map if we want to apply for funding for those roads.
If that's correct.
So we need-
Will that help us with any other type of funding that we're looking for?
Well, not
Yes,
really.
no, nothing?
Not
Just
really.
just transportation.
Yeah. The caveat is though, if they're on the map, then you have to build them to the state specs.
Okay.
Because Westford is the only one that I can see that really needs to be definitely an arterial road, at least to the bridge.
Well, and so does New Sweden.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
beyond, yeah.
beyond, I mean, Anderson Street all the way out to New Sweden.
Yep.
Well, I can't believe New Sweden's not already
I know designated,
designated at that, but
but those are the two that need to be if anything else does. I would think.
And I was driving in Boise the other day, and most of the streets in Meridian are designated as, they have 5 lane roads in them. But you get out toward CUNA and out toward some of the county sections that are all still owned and operated by the Ada County Highway District. They're 62 foot wide, 62 and a half foot wide. They're 3 lane roads, but they all have wide, even those have wide right-of-ways for paths and parks to give it more green space and not so much just
Road.
road and vinyl siding,
I mean,
vinyl.
if we change
fencing.
our ordinances to say that if it's a collector, it's gotta have the 80 foot right of way, which is what we were talking about last month, then we've already got New Sweden, Center Street, and West Fur, they're already identified as collectors. Right, so those would all have to be 80 foot right of way. Or if we change our ordinance to say they have to be 99 foot, right, whatever we change.
Right.
That would take care of that issue. And then the 62 foot right of way that is our standard right now would only apply to things that are not collectors, which would be every other road.
Road in the
Road,
city.
secondary, yeah, secondary
Every
residence.
other.
Yeah, we need to change that on this subdivision ordinance. ASAP.
It's a Title 10, so it'll have to go back through P&Z.
Okay.
okay. So, do we wanna make a motion to send it back to P&Z, or what do we?
I'll
Do
make
we
a-
wanna pick which roads, or?
I think we picked them.
I think we picked him, and I think we need to have P and Z go ahead and take a look at West Fur to the Cedar Point Canal Bridge and the New Sweden Highway.
So is that something that we would work on together to get that done?
All I need to know is if you have a preference on the width of the right of way, and then Justin and I can come up with a road section that fits that right of way for those roads. Does that okay, Justin?
That's great.
And then we need to
Sounds like a
increase the
plan.
size, the width of a collector right of way to 99 feet.
Oh, that's the number, 99, okay.
Yes.
So that's,
So
I mean,
you're
Fur-
making,
that's
so
what
are you
Fur
making a
is.
motion?
Yeah,
East Fur is.
that's my motion. Do you want more?
No. Sandy, did you get his motion?
I've got Jeff moved.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Well, that hurt.
To designate Fur, West
Okay,
Fur.
I will try to explain it. I was
That's
under,
why I asked, Jeff.
I was under
think-
anesthesia
I don't
earlier
know what,
today.
I
but
know, and that's
I didn't
why you have
realize
the
I was
water
that
going
far
on and
under.
getting caught up. So help Sandy out by more than you
Okay.
moved.
Wow. Okay,
I think I got, you're designating the sections, like, because you did say West Fur to the Cedar Point Canal Bridge, but you didn't designate anything on.
and the New Sweden Highway is being an arterial road.
And Center Street.
No. Is it
And
arterial or collector?
West, just west
These are
center,
collectors.
Major collectors.
Major collectors
or excuse me, just east center?
And center out to,
and center,
from the tracks
Center
out
east
to.
I guess it's east.
east center,
Yeah,
East of
center.
91.
as
Out
being
to-
collectors
out to Butte.
with a 99-foot right of way.
Okay, so you're making a motion to have P and Z review this, review the width of collector to 99 feet,
Right.
Right.
and arterial should be how much, are you suggesting?
We don't have any.
We don't have any
Yeah,
arterial.
we don't.
Arterial.
Okay, so collectors to 99 feet, and to review West Fur to the Cedar Point Canal, and New Sweden,
New Sweden,
Anderson, well, and Anderson? I mean,
Anderson,
the whole
New
thing from 91,
Yeah.
right?
New Sweden from 91 to city limits,
Is that right?
Yep.
yeah.
and make East Center,
A collector with 99-foot wide right of way.
Is there 99 feet there?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
We don't have
Okay.
99 feet
Anyway,
in the new, in the recently approved plats. We don't have.
I know, what I'm saying is they're physically 99 feet there on
From
Saturday.
that point east there is, but the bridge is a restrictor, just to the west of the Fox Crossing.
yeah.
Because the other ones are that way.
Those are restricted.
But
Let's
we-
have them look at it and see what we can do with P and Z. So that's your motion?
Yeah, that's my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, whatever Jeff's motion was. All in favor? 4 in favor.
We're sending it back to we're sending it to P and Z for review.
Kurt's like, great.
Okay,
It's a learning
all
experience.
right. Uh,
You guys are crazy.
We're glad,
oh,
Jeff. We're glad you're here
consider
today.
Yeah,
calling for a public hearing
Thanks for
to
not
establish
sleeping and
bulk
coming
water rates.
this is just kidding.
This was on the agenda a while back, and you wanted a little bit more information, so you wanted to know, so Justin had proposed to do, for contractors pulling out of the hydrant, along with their, the meter rental that they have to do, $5 per gallon. Typically, their 5,000 gallon trucks would be $25 per truck. You wanted me to check and see what it cost us? So what I did is I went back and looked at the county residents, what they pay based on their meter. They're paying $3.40 per gallon, and it costs about, so I took well number 2, found what it costs us for electricity for the month. It costs us about 1/4%. So 1/4 of 1 penny per,
For electricity.
for the electricity, yes. Sorry, when I said per gallon, that's wrong. That's per thousand. Sorry, Justin, you was back there going, no,
No,
no.
you're good. Jordan just reminded me, because me and you hashed this out,
I
we
know,
gotta
I
figure
know.
out. So.
So it's per
Everybody's on the
thousand.
same table.
There's 99 feet.
Oh, okay, so the question I've got is,
All the way up.
people that are doing construction in the area, you know, building houses, roads, whatever, I totally get it, but I know if they bring these wind farms in, they want millions of gallons. Well, on a drought year, I don't wanna give them
We need
a
water.
bunch of water. So I don't know how we
Still by permission.
permission only, or, I mean.
Yeah, do we even have
Yeah.
to give them permission?
Well, we don't have to,
No.
no, that's what I'm saying, I don't. The ones that are actually doing work in the area is one thing, but if they're taking it up on the hill,
I agree 100%.
I don't want it sucked out of our wells
Exactly.
if it's
I
a
agree.
bad year.
Sometimes we get calls from people that see a truck out filling up from the hydrant out on 900 East, out where it's out in the city, or out of the city, it's on a hydrant. And they're just pulling in there and filling up. We never have caught them. You haven't caught anybody, have you?
No, we've worked with the county on that. We've allowed the county to pull some water out of there.
No, this was a contractor. The guy
Yeah,
that
there's
called in that lives out there, it was a billy truck that was a
There's been other
contractor.
contractors that I think out in the county, our last hydrant, nobody's around, they just pull up, fill up and take off, you know, so. We have that happen all over the place, right? Like it's just, if
Yeah,
we catch them, we
once in a
catch them.
while,
If we don't, it's. you
Kind of
can't
similar,
get where it
kind of
was.
similar to 2,000 gallons of chemical that got dumped down the sewer. Nobody knows where it came from.
Can you put a lock on hydrants or anything?
No, not with the fire.
Well, I know, but the fire department would have the ability to unlock it.
They do make hydrant locks.
Yeah, but they're like the standpipe locks, right? They're pretty cheesy. I mean, if a guy's any mechanically inclined at all, that lock does no good. I mean, they can.
Get right to it. Okay.
And then, yeah, if we go turn the valve off to that hydrant, and then if there's a fire or an emergency
Yeah.
out there, there's no water at the hydrant, so that's,
Yeah.
so it's just, it's like the people we have that go turn on their standpipes that we turn them off because of lack of payment or this or that, and they go out there with pliers and turn them on if they can reach them or whatever. If we catch them, great. If we don't, it's, you just can't be here for it once to watch that, so.
Okay.
I think the other thing you can consider is, you know, your peak hour flows are really where you get in the most trouble. And you can have, you know, certain times of the day where you're like, can't have water.
Yeah, because
Can't
It's
get it in
not
the-
vol-
can't
it's
get
not
it in the morning,
volume.
can't get it in the.
it's flow,
It's rate.
yeah, right, it's not volume of water.
Okay.
So we need to call for a hearing? Is that what we're doing?
Well,
Yes.
And discuss the
what
rates?
do we have it at now? What do we,
Right now, we're charging $20 per tank, whether that's a 10-gallon tank or a 10,000-gallon tank. We don't define what that
Oh.
gallon is.
yeah,
So we
It's
call
just,
for
it's
it.
just 20 bucks a tank.
we need to call.
So I'll make a motion that we call for a public hearing to change the established bulk water rate
I'll second it.
It's been moved and
I have to
seconded.
have a price to publish.
to the proposed $5 per gallon.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded
Gives us some
that we,
flexibility, right?
yeah, call for a public hearing to increase, or to set a water bulk rate
water rate.
of
Gosh, that's more
$5
expensive than
per
gas.
1,000 gallons.
Yeah.
Is that right? Hey, you two?
Yes.
That's right,
Yes.
$5 per
Yes.
1,000 is what you're saying?
Per gallon.
Per ga,
Per gallon.
Per
No,
gallon?
Per thousand.
per
Per
1,000.
thousand.
Oh, well, it says in her deal per gallon.
Well,
Oh,
That's what-
I thought you were really gonna stick it to him, Lee.
Are you talking
Well,
about
it says
there?
right here,
It
I mean, that
says-
$5 per
gives
gallon.
council
It does say
plenty of
$5
room.
per gallon.
Justin has proposed 5 per gallon. I'm reading it.
$5
Per
per
gallon.
gallon.
Oh, I get it.
And Kim said, that's
No, I
more
didn't.
expensive than
I
gas.
proposed it.
I'm like, that's more expensive than
So-
Yeah,
gasoline.
it's much more zero.
Let's change our motion. What do you want it to be?
We want to look at $5 per 1,000 gallons.
Okay.
so
Let's-
I said it right,
Yes, you did.
but, because
You're correct. We should
because I
charge them
listened to the
$500 for
discussion
1,000
already that
gallons.
you guys were talking and
Five-
they discussed.
Well, I was discussing that's a lot of money.
So how
for
do you want it to
water.
read? You want $5 per 1,000
1,000
gallons?
gallons.
So I make a motion that we call for a public hearing to establish or change the bulk water rate to $5 per 1,000 gallons.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Wow, that was
That
hard.
we have a hearing, public hearing,
Really
to-
hard.
set a bulk water rate of $5 per 1,000
It's on page
gallons.
2.
All in favor?
It says,
All in
it
favor?
says 5
4 in favor.
1,000.
Okay,
It's like herding cats.
It is.
Jeez, are you kidding?
Just because we went 3 weeks instead of 2.
Yeah. It was that Monday
You're out of
that
practice.
threw us off.
Yes.
okay, let's see.
That was a
Uh,
bad decision today.
Old council business, BJ.
Well, brain surgery.
Nothing for tonight, but again, in sincerity, Chuck, good to see you again. And it's good to see you. Appreciate you guys.
All right, Sandy.
That's it.
Okay, so just to bring your attention, you'll have these in the front of your binders. You've already sent comments in on this. This is just notice of a public hearing. that I
Is this
just
for
wanted
the-
to-
Which
All of
one's
them
that
are way
one
far
for?
away
They're all
from
way
the
far
city.
away from us.
Yeah, most of them are
Other side of
885.
Way out there.
One's down in Firth.
We're down.
So anyway, they're just for yours, like, you've already given comment, this is just for your notice of hearing. Next, I received a letter from Corinne. Sad to say, tomorrow will be her last day. She's going to take employment with the City of Idaho Falls in their Finance and Administration Department. So, we've kind of put the word out. I've got it, I'll get it on our website and published. So we can get somebody in there as soon as we can.
What are you posting for a job description?
Because she was kind of split, you know? So how I'm gonna do it is office clerk / DMV clerk.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll do that. And also, and I didn't know, do you wanna talk about the LRIP grant? When you get around there?
You're the one who lied
Oh,
on it, that's why we didn't get it.
Oh.
Justin, do you wanna talk about that or Dave?
Yeah, I thought you talked to me, but I
Oh,
who were you
we're talking about our grant, the one that you helped me with, that you lied on.
Well, we didn't get the recreation grant. No, they
And I brought,
paid,
we're like,
they
you
gave
need
3
yours,
of
so
them
the
out,
only thing I
and
have,
we didn't.
Okay,
They
that's
would
what
have
all of us.
saved who got them.
God, they snarky
That was
here
one of my
tonight.
questions, so.
Yeah.
okay, so the only thing I have is I am going to start working on the payroll for the budget a little bit earlier because we have so many different variations we wanna do. Don't, just ignore the mayor, he's saying, yes, the city is #1 in his eyes.
Yes.
So, I pulled the CPI index from February to February, like I did in the past, and y'all know that inflation's kind of high. From February to February, it's 7.9%. And
That's half
three
of what it
figures. I always
really
do
is.
3 different figures, not 1%.
1, 2,
different
and
figures.
3.
To work on my budget. So I got about 3, 6, and 7.9.
You gotta like the mayor's consistency on the one. It's crazy.
I'm 3, 2, and 1, but
I think we need to contact other cities and see what they're
See what they're
doing
doing.
Okay.
and see how they're handling the issue.
Because you are correct.
Because
Inflation's out of control.
7.9% is not correct.
That's low.
Effectively, it's
That's low.
16.8 currently.
I haven't heard yet what our insurances are doing or anything like that. This is the first step, plus, positions that you guys would like to maybe add if we could. So, I'll go ahead and work on that. I'll contact some other cities and come back with those figures or what they say, and then we can.
Right, how they're handling the
all right.
waging.
The last thing is, Wednesday, May 11th, there's some DMV training that Maureen will have to attend, and if we have somebody hired by then, they will also have to attend, so I'm asking permission. It's a Wednesday, so it's midweek, so it shouldn't be too bad other than springtime. So I'm asking permission to close DMV down for that day so they can go to Pocatello and train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just post it so that people know.
In advance.
Like next week. So they have a month to prepare.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. Dave, Reader's Digest.
All right, I'll be quick. I'll let Justin do most of it, but I just want to let you know, First Street's coming along. I think we're about halfway. Justin, I want to get with you, and next week, I'd like to have a construction meeting and just kind of go over this stuff. We haven't done that yet. But, things are going good.
Okay. All right. Michael?
I want to thank the city crew for going up and helping me at the pool. They've been getting stuff up there going for me, and it's drained up there, and just waiting for the guys to come next week, and they're gonna start plaster and stuff like that and get it going. I did reach out to Idaho Falls, and they are wanting to come down and still do the training and stuff at the pool, since their pool may not be up and running yet because of their remodel.
Charge PJ extra for that.
Okay.
Tell him I said so.
Okay. Soccer's going good. Practices are all going, so all those kids are out there playing in the snow. And then baseball signups ended, but I'll be doing the draft next week and getting baseball going. And then Mayor's Youth Council is doing really good. We had our little meeting today that went really good with AIC, and I have several kids really excited about going to AIC in June. So, that's all I got.
All right, Jordan, you got anything for us?
Yeah, so as you guys have seen, we got lots of plans coming in, lots of building permits. As of Thursday, we got the new permitting program up and running. We started it Thursday. I want to thank Sandy for all her help. She got it posted on the website. They can click on there, go through the processes. They can pay online now to do a building permit. We've got, since Thursday, I've got 5 permits already in progress on the new system. So
Sweet.
I'm
Cool.
excited
That's
about
awesome.
it. Start using it.
Me too.
Good.
Has there been any conversation about what we proposed?
Yep, I'll bring that up when we get there.
Okay.
All right. Justin?
I got a handful of things here, so, Sandy brought it to LRIP, we did apply for a $100,000 grant on First Street, and when I say we, we're gonna say Dave applied for it. Dave called me and says, we got it, and I said, well, we didn't apply, he's like, well, no, but I did for you. So anyways,
Thanks, Dave.
we've got
Appreciate it.
$100,000 to work on First Street. We did a good job, yes.
Way to go, team.
The funds will be available for next year, it'll be the 23 year, and so we'll work it out, which parts we're gonna fix and replace and work on, and we'll have a plan ready for next year that's ready to go, so.
That's great.
Thanks,
By
Dave.
then,
Thanks, Dave.
by then that will include a curb cut, right?
He wants a curb cut.
I said by then that
then
will
it'll
only
come-
constitute
a curb.
replacing a
Yeah,
curb cut,
exactly,
right?
right. Yeah, we're not gonna, $100,000 is not going very far.
Nope.
Like, it's gonna be a patch job until we can
Yeah,
get our.
it's gonna pay for the chip seal.
And
Maybe,
And this will
maybe.
be from 91 headed past the fire station, right? This will be the area
Right.
that we've applied for that we're gonna be working on going out that way.
Which does need help.
We've got our Easter egg hunt this Saturday, the Kiwanis and the city's putting it